No action taken in closed session. So we convene into open session at, the your motion at 7:05.
I motion we open.
Mr. Robinson, second by.
Kingsley.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. One absent. At 7:05. An action determined in closed session. A recording of this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as public record. Pledge of allegiance led by Mario.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Larry's here. Carol, Mario, and Jim Davis is absent. Can I hear the agenda?
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Karis, second.
Kingsley.
All in favor?
Aye.
One absent. Comments from the public. So we have our stack here. So members of the public may address the board on any items within the jurisdiction of the board by submitting the presentation request to the secretary. Members of the public are strongly urged not to mention personnel by name and remain reminded that they do not have immunity from legal action if personnel are named. The board shall limit each speaker to 3 minutes with a total of 20 minutes per topic. So, want to start on that?
Sure. All right, first public comment is from Karina Del Rio. States, to whoever concerns, I need my son to go back to actual school because I feel he is not learning how he should be. Since I live in a really bad area for the internet and I had tried everything to keep up with his work, it's being so hard for me to teach him the right way since English is not my first language. I really hope you take the right decision to bring them back to campus. Sincerely, Karina Quintero, Ryan Haro, and Damian Quintero's mom. The next one is from D. Perez. I'm writing this comment both as a mother and an employee of the district. My daughter is fighting depression with distance learning. She has a support system at home to help her yet she is still sad all the time. I see the parent side and I see the employee side. Our kids are struggling. There are so many kids where the school system is their only lifeline. We are their saving grace. They do not have strong support system at home like some kids do. Case in point, a student has come in and have us look at their computer. Mom said he had stopped being able to connect, etc. Looking at the computer, we quickly learned that that wasn't the case. In the midst of checking all this, the aides and teachers had happened to walk through the office. His face lit up. He was so excited to see them. Seeing an employee on Zoom is not the same as in person. His whole demeanor changed. I guess what he has been doing better since random encounter with his aides and teacher. We are the lifeline for so many of our kids. The only school-related support they'll ever have. We have to go back. Other states have already done so with successful rates. The mentality of these children rests in our hands. We are their only normality, and that was ripped from them in March. The babies only have us, the school employees, fighting for them. The next one is from Suni Hepburn. This has been the hardest year of our lives. I have a 6th grader at Tropical Middle School and distancing learning isn't working for us. She needs to be in the classroom setting. She's falling behind. Assignments are being completed. She is very capable, but she's not getting it done. She attends Zoom classes every day. Still, the work isn't getting done. She's failing, and honestly, it's affecting my well-being as a mother. This is really hard on the children, and it's even harder on us parents. Parents that have multiple children, parents that have jobs and households to maintain. This isn't working, and I really hope that our children can get some type of in-class instruction of any kind. The next one is from Opal Finch. Dear Mrs. Gaines, the board, and to whomever it may concern. I'm writing to express the desire that children in SKUSD, which includes my 5 children, go back to school for the full 5 days a week. Although the teachers have done an amazing job trying to do what needs to be done on the distance learning, it is not as effective as in person. We have almost on a daily basis experienced internet problems, Zooms that freeze or have been kicked off, including the teachers themselves. I've heard that from many other parents having the same issues. Having 5 children plus 2 college students who are on Zooms at the same time, they have to be spread out everywhere in the house. It's very disheartening that my high schooler and junior high student are in their rooms secluded for 6-7 hours a day by themselves on a Zoom or doing work. They have been in tears and frustration from all 5 of them. They are all just going through the motions without any joy. This is only a bit of what our household has experienced through the distance learning. I really hope that these children can go back on to school with 5 days in person. Thank you, Opal Finch. The next one is from Corthell Robinson. I think the kids need to be back at school before they fall too far behind. Signed, Corthell Robinson. The next one is from Carol Robinson. I like to see the schools open soon. The children definitely need to have this to happen for their well-being. Thank you, Carol Andrews Robinson.
Yeah, that's not me.
Okay. The next one is Sharon Ulrich. Good morning. Is there anything us parents can do to move this process of distance learning along? It has been almost a whole quarter, and my daughters have really been struggling. The amount of work they are given daily to do and figure out about 90% of it on their own is insane. The tears and stress this is putting them through is extremely overwhelming and sad to see. They need to be with their peers and be involved in sports again. Face-to-face instruction 5 days a week would be ideal. Do we have any idea how much longer this will need to go on? These kids need to be kids again, and I will do whatever it takes to get them to that point. If you could please pass the information on for me, I would greatly appreciate it. Have a great day. Signed, Sharon Ulrich, Library Resource, West Park Elementary. The next one is from Lindsay DeCenzo. Hi, I'm a mother of 2 students here in Rosamond, and I'm writing to give you input on the children returning to school. I believe they should be able to return to school with safe precautions put in place. They are missing so much of the social aspect, personal interaction with teachers, full lesson structures, disciplines of the day, and much more. I am all for them returning to the school learning. Thank you, Lindsay DeCenzio. And then in addition, thank you. I'd also like to add that I believe the children do not behave or listen the same at home with familiar faces as they would with an authority figure such as a teacher, which I feel causes a false sense of the student we are seeing. Having our children in a school setting lets us parents get feedback from other point of view on where our children actually do or do not need extra help in areas we may notice because of how they behave in school versus home. Whether it's behavioral or academic issues, is extremely helpful to the future of our children to correct certain issues as soon as possible, which virtual learning is being missed. If you could forward this additional I appreciate it. The next one is from Exo Delta Gaming, Yesenia Garcia or Alvarez, it looks like. Good morning. As a mother of 3 children who attend the district of different ages from kindergarten to middle school, we are trying that our children do not go back to school for now. If it is not possible for everyone, I can hope you can give the option so that each father decide. I know that many parents will say the children are not so vulnerable to contracting COVID due to cases within our families where they were infected and admitted to emergency room. We prefer not to have our children put at risk or ourselves as adults. We hope that the return to school is postponed until the vaccine is available. Just as a point to consider, I want to tell you that unfortunately more than 10 members of this community, as mentioned above, relatives, were not counted in the total infected amount in Rosamond. I thank you in advance. The next one is from Emily Calendre. Good morning, my name is Emily. I am a mother of 2 children. They are in 4th grade at West Park Elementary and also 1 in kindergarten. I, as well as my children, feel they should be able to go back to school 5 days a week. I feel it's very important on assuring that they're getting the proper education. Also, it's important for their social skills. I am voting to open schools 5 days a week. Thank you, signed Emily. The next one, Angela Sanchez. Good evening. My name is Angela Sanchez. I'm a parent of 2 students and former students of SKUSD. I'm ready to plead, inquire, advocate regarding our district's planned timeframe to resume in-person classes. My sons are suffering. They're mentally, emotionally suffering. They are asking every day to go to school. They miss the social aspect and they miss your staff. They are suffering in the area of absorbing what they are learning. Despite the teacher's efforts, which have been above and beyond amazing, as a parent, I see the lack of learning. I see the lack of absorbing the lesson. They are missing the extracurricular activities. We are all missing it. Our family has 2 essential workers. I am working from home as a social worker, however, in the field 2 to 4 times a week. I, as a parent, am struggling. My kids are doing a great job at doing their best, and the complaints are not about connections, grades, and Zooms. They complain about not understanding, being bored. It is not being the same. I see how this has affected their drive to learn, their drive to explore new things, and their drive to maintain daily activities. Why can't the football players practice? Why can't extracurricular activities resume? I know this is totally out of your hands, but I'm aware that there is an upcoming meeting. I'm ready to give you support in opening our district back up. In addition, I'm willing to help with whatever it needs to get us ready and ensure safety measures are taken. I will clean, I will take temperatures, I will do whatever you need me to do to ensure we open safely. Thank you, signed Angela Sanchez. The next one is Ashley St. Germain. Hello, my name is Ashley St. Germain. I have 2 daughters that attend West Park Elementary. One is in kindergarten and one is in 3rd grade. I would like to have these kids go back to school for in-person learning. I am worried about the mental and emotional damage that my children will endure if distance learning continues. While both of the teachers are trying very hard to teach the children, it is just not the same. My 3rd grader is not able to grasp things this way. With going back to in-person learning, I think the kids will still need to have recess and be able to play. It's extremely important that these kids socialize and grow together. I do appreciate everything the district has done for the children. Thank you. The next one is Donovan Marcella. Wanted to throw my opinion out there and say that the kids should go back to school. They're struggling to try to keep up with what needs to be done and the connections battling. They need the social interaction. There are many other schools that are open, and I think we need to join in and save the children. Signed, Donovan Marcella. The next one is from Carolyn Eslick. I feel our children need to be back in school. I have special needs kids, and they need the classroom experience. The need to be interacting with the teachers and kids, so please open up the school. My kindergarten one cries every day to be able to go back to school. The next one is Sophia Rico. I am a parent of 3 students enrolled at SKUSD, and I'm respectfully asking that the district allow our kids to return to school full-time. Thank you in advance for consideration. The next one is Catherine Katazani. Good afternoon. As a parent of a 6th grader here at TMS, I'm in full support of our children returning to class learning. This can be part-time or full-time. The value of students interacting with kids their age and having the in-class experience is needed for the successful learning environment. There are many states where kids have returned to school, and it's time for us to do the same. Thank you, signed Catherine. The next one is Stephanie Smith. I feel that the kids should be able to go back to school 5 days a week. Homeschooling is causing many negative things for the kids. Thank you, Stephanie Smith, parent of a 4th grader. Next one is Elizabeth Briscoe. Good afternoon. I just want to let you know that I support our students going back to school 5 days a week. I feel that this would be the best way for all of our students to actually learn. I feel what we are doing right now is only holding our students back academically and socially. Our children need to be in school. Thank you so much for your time, Elizabeth Briscoe. You got me? I need a drink.
Dr. Robin, can you read on the next?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, this is from Barbara Brown. My name is Barbara Brown. I've lived in Roseman since 1994. I've raised 5 children in the town of Roseman. I have been raising 3 of my grandchildren for the past 11 years. 2 of my granddaughters attended tropical, or should I say, would attend this virus. One was on the superintendent's honor roll last year, straight A. She is also special needs. She worked really hard to get out of her special needs classes and into regular classes within 2 months of last year. She loves school, and she'll want her back in tropics. This is her last year in middle school. My other supposed to be a fun, my other granddaughter just stayed in middle school and has started middle school and is having a hard time with distance learning. This was supposed to be a new fun, exciting year for her. My kids' emotional well-being is in jeopardy. They need to be around their peers and teacher and faculty, friends, family. The people at the school are more than employees to me and my family. The emotional support, they are family, and my kids are having a difficult time without their school family. We are begging, give our kids the emotional support they need by allowing them to return to school. Thank you for letting me voice my concerns.
The next one is Kristen Tunnel. Hello, my name is Kristen Tunnel, and I would like to have my kids back in school full-time 5 days a week. They miss not going to school, and they need the interaction. I hope they can start school again. Thank you, signed Kristen Tunnel. The next one is Victoria Galvin. I have appreciated my boys being at home, and I am able to help them. As time goes by, it is beginning to be harder to help them. I have 3 boys, and my smallest can't even go back to preschool. I'm noticing that my oldest is a lot more visual and needs things explained more. His math grade has been dropping because he needs more explaining. Math is not an easy subject to do by yourself, and I am not the best to help on that subject. If looking at history, he has always had the best grades and always straight A's. The next is missing his friends and social life. It's sad for me to see him sit there in front of a screen. At his age, playing is a big part of learning. His teaching is not the best with technology. He has cried at times. He used to look forward to school. He now complains that it is too much. Please let our children go back to school and have things go back to normal. It is really sad to see the world is not. I have the best memories of being in school, playing with my friends, and connecting with my teachers. The next one is Casey Mccaslin. Hello, Sally. I'm reaching out to you to express my desire to have the kids return to school and in-person learning. I have a 7th grader who loves to learn and loves her teachers. She always has been a straight A student, and the last 7 months have been hard on her emotionally. She's depressed and her grades are not reflecting her potential. I have a 9th grader who carries an IEP and 1 SDC class. She says she's struggling academically would be an understatement. I'm hurting for my kids and their normalcy with education. They desperately need to get back into the classroom. I truly hope it's in your power to make it happen. Thank you, Casey Mccaslin. The next one is Kristen Tariq. Hello, I'm one of the curious parents in the district that are patiently waiting for the go-ahead to send our children back to school. School plays an important role in students' educational achievement, health, and well-being, and being out this long has taken such a toll on so many. So here we are heading to the October 2020 with hopes of heading back to school soon. I have 3 children enrolled, with 1 having an IEP. His IEP services have lacked severely since doing online classes. Please understand we are all aware of the measures needed to be taken for us to go back to school, and I hope you know we all appreciate the teachers and staff. We want to go back. We want to go back. From a hopeful parent, Kristen Tariq. The next one is from Craig Tunnel. Good morning. I'm Craig Tunnel. I'm the father of 2 children in your district. Please let these kids go back to school. It's time. They need the interaction and their teachers and fellow students. We understand the risk, but it's time. Thank you, Craig Tunnel. Is that it?
That's it. Next on the agenda is the RTA report.
That's it?
Yeah, we don't have any student members here.
Well, no, I'm saying that's it.
That's all that I have submitted to me yet.
Oh, that's interesting, because I had copies submitted to me from teachers, but I guess they're not being included.
What
So,
did they submit them to the district office?
yeah, I was just copied on it, so, okay.
We
Well, hold on a
got
minute.
some reports from teachers, but it says confidential, so we weren't supposed to do that.
Stay over there.
Let's wait. Hold on a minute, Jim.
I don't have some.
No, remember I said I wanted to read.
Yeah.
They're probably.
This one starts off, good evening, board members.
Which one are we talking about? Who is
I'm not gonna say,
Yeah, go get it.
no.
We'll just read them. If they're supposed to be here, let's read them.
We're getting a clear view, I understand that, I
Can
just,
I see the copy that you have, Jim, just so I can compare it with what I have here, because I don't want to read something that I shouldn't be reading.
This was sent Wednesday, October 7th at 8:21 a.m. And if the district doesn't have it, then
Hold on a minute, let me check.
if it doesn't belong in the packet,
No. start.
No, don't have a roll call.
So you will understand my frustration.
Is it just that one?
I don't know.
How many do you have?
Let's see what Sally has. Rebecca Ward is put on that.
Yeah, there's a-
One's from
yeah,
today
there's
as
a
well.
Rebecca Ward in here.
And I'm sure there's others, maybe from the parents, and I'm not trying to refute anybody's, I just want to make sure all people's voices are included appropriately.
Yeah, we got you, Jim. Thank you. Princess Maria, Mrs. Maria Copeland. Dear school board members, please, please, please allow our children to return to school. Please allow them to return without social distancing and without mask. That offers zero protection from viruses. Please stop desensitizing our children by temperature checks where a gun is pointed at their head. Please be brave and stand up for our children. Every day I see the joy of learning slip away from my children. Every day it's a gamble if the Zoom meeting is going to work. Every day is an argument with the attendance office if my children attended school or not. You know what? Let them come back, and I don't have to prove that they are there. This scamdemic, flatten the curb garbage has gone on long enough. Are you tired of it yet? I sure hope so, and I sure hope you will be brave. Don't follow the recommendations of face masks, temperature checks, and plexiglass that have no place in our school days. Thank you for your consideration, Maria Copeland. The next one is Christy Cotrufo. Before reopening schools, who will be the ones to make sure the district is up to code with the health department? Following protocols so our students and staff can walk and feel well protected. Thank you, Christy Cotrufo. Next one is from Rebecca Ward. Good evening, board members. My name is Becky Ward, and I teach math at TMS. I'm reaching out to you tonight in regards to the reopening of classrooms for our students. I have two specific concerns. On July 15th, the board voted that the ABABD model to be implemented upon returning to school. That means SKUSD leadership has had 12 weeks to plan out all the details required to make this idea happen. However, when two surveys were sent out on Friday of last week, one to the parents and one to the staff, we were asked again what model we prefer when we return. Does this mean our district has done no planning and still has no detailed plan ready to use as soon as the county is really in the position to allow on campus? The survey indicates that we are starting over, which is equivalent to taking a giant leap backwards. My second concern is about the survey option of returning to school using the traditional model. How is social distancing going to be done if everyone returns full-time 5 days a week? How are classrooms going to be continuously cleaned, deep cleaned? How does the school site screen all staff and all students in a timely manner every single day? The survey also indicates we could return as soon as November 2nd. That is 3.5 weeks from now. Before I can support students returning to classrooms, I need the reassurance from this board that there is well thought out, well communicated, detailed plan that includes all the safety measures needed to protect me, my family, my colleagues, and my students. A goal without a plan is simply a wish. We cannot afford to reopen on wishes alone. The next one is from Christy Muncie for board meeting reading. If we go back hybrid, please consider designating grade level teachers for distance days. The students need instruction 5 days per week, and we cannot teach both in person and online. Also, please consider allowing the students to have recess and eat in the cafeteria. All of our rooms are carpeted and getting ants. As well, if we go back, please send us more hygienic supplies like tissue, soap, wipes, sanitizers, and child-sized masks. Thank you so much, Christy D. Muncie. The next one is from John Jorgensen. My name is John Jorgensen, father of a 9th grade student at Rosamond High School and a 7th grade student at Tropical Middle School. I like to plead my case for the students in SKUSD to return to in-person learning. I will admit that I was one of the first people hoping that our kids would get to stay home when COVID had such an impact in our state, and I quickly realized I was wrong. So many freedoms have been taken away from our kids, including their sports and opportunities to be the next best generation that they can be. First and foremost, our kids need in-person learning and teacher interaction, which it comes to their studies. It's extremely difficult to not have a person instructional for these kids, especially when they have questions that have to be emailed to their teachers, many times waiting 7 hours to get the response in order to finish their schoolwork. Second, there have been numerous frustrations from Zoom not working properly to servers crashing and not being able to log into classes. Most of these issues seem to be resolved, but many are still experiencing these issues from time to time. The mental health of our kids has honestly got to be the biggest reason for these and my kids to return to the in-person learning. While I understand there is a nationwide pandemic, I also understand that more than 650,000 people died from illnesses related to flu each year, according to the World Health Organization. When kids are in school, they get the flu and they get sick and they need to be exposed to natural germs on a regular basis. Their immune systems need it. Our kids have been told for the last 7-8 months not to interact with each other outside of their households, and quite honestly are extremely depressed. This isn't fair anymore. Kids need to be around other kids, friends, peers, and other adults. Some of these kids' only escape is to be in school, and it is where they belong. I appreciate you taking these factors into consideration when making your decision for these kids' students to return in-person learning. Regards, John Jorgensen. The next is from Angela Brown. Please allow students to return 5 days a week in traditional setting. All 3 of my children are not thriving in distance learning, and grades are suffering due to lack of person teaching. The next one is from, yeah, you can read that one. And it's just because it's long and I'm tired. The next one is from out of town means our terrestrial Wi-Fi is heavily taxed with 2 students attempting Zoom classes simultaneously as my husband completes remote teleconferencing meetings. While we appreciate the extreme efforts of the district to combat slow or non-existent internet with external hotspots and updated Chromebooks, spotty or failed internet connections continue to be the universal cause of frustrations among my daughters. On one occasion, one of my 9th grade teachers noted her commendable lead in a Kahoot review game was shattered by her loss of internet multiple times during the game. Learning with the distractions of daily household life and toddler brothers has proven to be a challenge for both our daughters. As a stay-at-home parent, I'm fortunate to be available most of the day, if and when my students are struggling with new concepts or assignments. While my knowledge of their current curriculum is high, my training is not in teaching these concepts, and assisting them often turns into misunderstandings and disagreement, which has become extremely taxing on our parent-child relationship as well. Keeping 2 energetic toddler boys entertained every day is challenging on its own. Add keeping them quiet or out of the house when half the world is shut down, yet still being accessible for students' questions outside of the teacher's office hours. The expectations is unrealistic and frankly exhausting. As difficult as it is in a daily normal time frame, I can't imagine the stress on working parents who come home after long hours in stressful and sometimes dangerous positions, and still attempt to navigate their own new roles as partial homeschooling parents. At the beginning of the COVID pandemic, while knowledge on the virus and its rates and cause of spread was relatively unknown, remote learning and social distancing seemed reasonable, regardless of the challenges. Now that more information is available, and to the true low nature of mortality, as well as the evidence of successful in-person learning protocols other states have modeled for months, it is time for our students to return to full 5 days a week in-person learning. Because some families are still fearful of personal contact, I believe a distance learning alternative should be offered. However, the fear of you should not dictate the behaviors of the mass any longer. I implore you and the school board members to allow our students the option to return to full-time, 5-day-a-week in-person learning at the earliest possible date. Please do not allow our students to backslide in their education any further in the name of a highly survivable virus. To reiterate, I commend you for considering the physical health of our students. When little was known regarding COVID, please do not exclude the emotional and mental health of our students as they continue to attempt to learn in an environment of isolation. Thank you for continuing to consider the best interest of our students your first priority. Sincerely, Megan Sheminsky, worn out mother of 2 struggling students and 2 distracting toddlers.
Okay, this one is by Julie, and I don't know how to pronounce the last name, so I'll spell it. It's WYCKHUYSE. Sally, I'm wanting to express my feelings and opinions with someone and hoping it doesn't fall on deaf ears. The distant learning stuff has been a nightmare, not only for parents, but teachers and for the students. I'm a single parent, but there's no way that I cannot work. So I'm forced to leave my children, who are old enough, home where they can be connected to a good Wi-Fi. That I had to pay extra for in order to get them on Zoom. When they need help, I cannot help them. I constantly have interruptions, and I receive when they should be in school is unbelievable. I have friends who are teachers. I see the stress level that this has caused them to have as well. You cannot get to know a student or how they learn from a computer screen. You need that face-to-face activity, so you can best understand how to teach each child in your class. Teachers were forced to not only teach in a new style, but also be IT, and that's not fair to the older generation of teachers who don't use computers well. My biggest issues are with the children though. They are missing out. They're missing out on the opportunity to learn in an effective manner. All of the children are able to sit and focus on a Zoom meeting. That is probably super boring. Some children, like my daughter, have adapted. She is moldable. She strives to succeed in everything she does. She's not afraid to ask questions. She's not afraid to answer questions. She's an all-around good kid. If she cannot get into Zoom, she will find a friend who will share their screen with her. Though some kind of a video chat like FaceTime or Snapchat is in the high school and therefore can email the teacher straight from her laptop if she has a question or concern. Then there's my son. He has been diagnosed with ADHD, borderline autistic. He cannot sit and focus on a computer screen and pay attention. He needs to be able to ask questions in class because his writing skills and spelling skills are not strong enough to type in a question and feel comfortable with not getting made fun of. He goes to speech and doing speech over Zoom is delayed. Most of the time he cannot see the speech teacher or assignment because of the delay. Then there are the days where he can't even get onto Zoom at all, or he doesn't know if the teacher's having a Zoom because he sits there in the waiting room. It's harder for him to contact his teacher. He is a middle school and he does not have access to his email on his Chromebook. Children in middle school are not required to have their camera on. So at any point, because I cannot be home, he could turn it off or go do something else. Then at night when I get home from work, he needs me to go over with him what he learned in school so he can do his homework. Teachers require going from one website to another or one tab to another back and forth over and over and over again. The days of having a piece of paper and a book where you can hold a piece of paper there and flip through the book are gone. Then I get home from work and I have to sit at the computer with him for hours of frustration and not knowing where I'm going on. A Chromebook is very extremely frustrating. Then there are the days when he's extremely frustrating and instead of wanting to do his work, he wants to sit and bug his sister. Now I understand that may be a parental problem, not a school problem, but that distracts from my daughter's learning too. I know not one parent signed up for this. I know that there was not one teacher who got her credentials thinking I love distant learning. I know that there may be some changes when kids come back to school like masks, but I know my kids need to be in school 5 days a week. I know they need a bonding time with the teacher so they understand the teacher style, so they can understand how to do their work. I'm sure when they sent out the survey, they didn't think that people would write books. So I apologize for the long response. Julie. Okay, back to reports and communications. RTA report.
Thank you. I suppose, Mr. Gutierrez, I should ask you to turn the AC back on, but that's okay.
Yeah, can you put that on?
I'm joking.
No, I do want it on, okay? Please, thank you.
I just want the parents to know that we feel their pain, we understand it, and we don't disagree with what they are expressing and what they're going through. Okay? So anything I say tonight, please don't misconstrue it as saying, oh, no, it's easy for the parents at home. You can do this. It's all fine. But we need to clearly understand, and I hope you can hear me fine. We need to clearly understand what this is all about. And I got papers all over the place here tonight. I started writing some things that I wanted to say. And after a couple hours, understanding that this was going to be a 30-minute, 40-minute presentation, that's not really what I wanted to do. But again, we are debating two sides of the issue. Number one, the district, the board, the parents, and yes, the teachers would like to have students in school. That's clear. We don't debate that. We don't disagree with that. But the other side of the issue that the board needs to continually think about and understand, and we respectfully request the parents consider, is that a majority of the teachers feel the health and safety of the students and staff will be jeopardized with in-person instruction. The majority of the teachers feel the health and safety of the students and the staff will be jeopardized with in-person instruction. And one question I'm going to want the board and the district to answer right away is, the opinion is we need our students back in school 5 days a week. I understand that. That means bringing all the students back full-time in a classroom of 25, 28, and 35 students. Is that acceptable? Does that meet state guidelines? Is that a consideration? And if it is, please educate me on that. If it is not a legal possibility with state guidelines, then we need to educate the parents on that. If 5 days a week is not possible because of distancing, then that needs to be taken off the table. I measured my room today during my lunchtime. And I happen to teach math, so I'm not too bad with doing area. But taking and if you want my drawing, you can have it. But taking the area that students sit in and dividing it by the 6 square feet that each student needs, so that there's 3 feet and 3 feet between each student. I can fit 12.6 students in my room with social distancing. I have one class of 36 students, so that's 18. If we split them up, that's 18 in each class. I have another class of 34 students, so that's 17 in each group, if they're divided evenly. And I have another class of 32 students, and if they're divided evenly, that's 16 per class. Now, realistically, I've set up my room, I showed you that at our last meeting, and I've measured from chair to chair. The best I could do is about 4.5 feet. In some instances, it's 5 feet. But again, my room would be limited to 12.6 students. One of the parents mentioned the need for students to have recess and the ability to play. And I certainly don't disagree with that. But do you think social distancing will be maintained during the recess and their need to play? Another parent mentioned about the other schools that are open. Please, if I don't have the proper information, tell me which public schools in the Antelope Valley from Tehachapi to Acton are open. And again, I just wrote down a few different things that came to mind as I was listening to the presentations. I appreciate the fact that the board was willing to listen to the other presentations that were presented, and I understand a majority are from the parents who are in favor of having their students return to school. I think it's important that all of the opinions need to be brought to the board. Going to the agenda, the board agenda tonight. And again, I'm sorry you can't see me smile behind this mask. Hopefully you can read my eyes sometimes. First of all, there is one thing on the agenda tonight I would like to be positive about, and that's agenda item 10A, which is for the district to approve the MOU for school reopening plan between the district and RTA. So this began as an MOU for all forms of reopening, but that quickly changed. It evolved into most of the requirements for reopening with only distance learning, because quite frankly, we got hung up on just those issues. And so we had to set aside and table the issues that have to do with students returning to school. So the MOU that the board is approving tonight does not cover everything RTA expects to be covered if students are returning to class. So what will happen is we're going to need to have addendums to the MOU, or maybe additional MOUs. Mr. Tanksley brought that up at our last meeting about what kind of time frame that would take. But we're going to need to have addendums or complete MOUs to address the attendance of student cohorts returning for our special needs students and any other in-person instruction. So while the district may have had some consultation with the association. RTA will expect to go into negotiations over the return of students in these areas. So RTA members ratified the tentative agreement that you have in your board packet with 90% of the members who voted. They voted in favor of the MOU. So RTA does recommend approval of the MOU that is on your agenda tonight. Next, I'd like to bring up agenda item 7A, which is the open blended model or the traditional schedule. At the moment, the district began putting out surveys. My email exploded. So while you're hearing from the parents, and I appreciate the parents, bringing their viewpoints to the board, I'm getting the viewpoints of the teachers, and I'm trying to pass those along as I get them. The teachers tend to follow the chain of command when it comes to these types of issues. They go through me, and I bring those issues to Mrs. Gaines, and they become a part of our negotiations. If you would like to hear from the teachers one by one, then I would be happy to make some sort of an arrangement for you to do that, whether it's in person, in an open air setting, or whether it's in writing. But the concerns that the members, the teachers have been bringing to me is what is the district's ability to meet safety measures for staff and students? When will the district develop and implement plans for procedures and protocols? While we have some of those written in our MOU, and I read in in the resolution tonight about a plan being on the district's website, but yet I can't find it. We need written plans and procedures as to how all of this is going to be implemented before it is implemented. And the question that keeps coming up is, why is the district revisiting the model for blended learning? The board and the district, with support from the association, agreed to a blended model of the AB-ABD model, but yet the survey that went out to parents and the survey that went out to teachers opened that wide up again, saying, well, which model do you want? Why are we revisiting that at this time? And what I already brought up was, why is there any consideration for returning to a traditional 5-day-a-week schedule without social distancing? Is this no longer a requirement from the state? If it's not, please give that to me in writing, because everything I read says it's still a requirement. Again, it would probably take me 20 minutes to read just half of the things that have been brought to my email. It's all over the place. I can't even keep it organized anymore, ladies and gentlemen, about the concerns of how are we going to do this. It isn't so much the teachers saying, no, let's not do this. It's how is the district going to maintain and guarantee these safety protocols? Mrs. Gaines and I have had some of those discussions. I brought it to my executive board, and every day I get stories about that hasn't been cleaned, this doesn't get done. We've got these new signs that go on our doors saying the room is clean or the room hasn't been cleaned. I was in my room today, and so I turned my sign around because I was in my room and there were other people who came to my room. I turned my sign around saying the room needs to be cleaned. I happened to forget something that I needed, so I stopped there before the meeting tonight at 6:30. My sign said the room had been cleaned. Well, it just so happens that there was stuff in my sink, and it's still there. There were stains on some of my tables. It's still there. Spraying of the magic mist does not necessarily clean and disinfect the room. What I hear from my teachers when they go to their administrators is, we are understaffed to maintain cleaning and disinfecting. I get that, okay? So if we are going to bring students back to school, how are we going to change that? How are we going to be guaranteed that these protocols will be maintained? Okay? And I know it's difficult for students at home right now. I know it's difficult for their parents at home right now. But you know what? We kind of have a system where things are starting to fall into place. The teachers have figured out how they're going to make their presentation. The students have figured out how to meet expectations. And a majority of the students are doing that. But what about the disruptions that are gonna happen once we go back to school? What about the disruptions that are gonna happen when a teacher comes down with symptoms and has to be taken out of the classroom for 2 weeks? And a substitute is in that room who isn't trained on the curriculum, who doesn't have the codes, and cannot provide the same instruction. You wanna have disruption in their education, that's when it's gonna happen. And oh yeah, what are the protocols? Do the students have to be removed also? And if they do, for how long? These are all the questions that need to be answered. When Mrs. Gaines and I were starting to talk about the next step we have to take after this MOU, the next step was returning student cohorts, our special needs students. And again, it's not that RTA is against this. It's not that we are trying to say no. It's trying to say, if we do this, how are we going to meet safety guidelines? And so I provided the district with a list of questions to say, fine, let's put this down on paper, because just like my students, I happen to be a visual learner. I need it written on paper so I can fully understand it. If I just have it in a discussion, I'm sorry, it goes away, especially at my age. I need it written on paper. And that was over a week ago. And I still don't have any written guidelines from the district to say, when we return the student cohorts, here's how they're going to be escorted on campus. Here's how they're going to be checked for any kind of symptoms. Here's how they're going to be in the classroom. When one of our behavior students is having a little bit of a meltdown, and this came to me from one of my teachers, when one of the students is having a meltdown and ripping off his or her mask and ripping off the mask of a teacher, and oh yeah, the state guidelines say you can only have so many students and so many adults, which means you cannot call in an administrator to help out. How are these things going to be addressed? It's not that we're saying no, it's that we're saying, how are these things going to be addressed? Mrs. Gaines has been, I've worked with 8 or 10 different superintendents over the years. And Mrs. Gaines has been probably the best leader that I recognize in our district. But I also know our district has a serious problem with the implementation of programs. And there is no more serious programs than what we're talking about now to provide the safety of our students and the safety of our staff. What the teachers expect to know, how are those things going to be addressed? And I understand, like I say, the parents want their students in school, the teachers want the students in school, but it can only be done with the proper safety guidelines and the proper implementation of those guidelines. My stories could go on and on and on, because I get them from the teachers every day. So as you go through and you consider those items, that's what I ask you to please be sure you understand. Like I say, I got halfway through this presentation and finally gave up. Oh, you're also voting on a board resolution tonight. Item 5 said in the board resolution 2021-06, item 5 says the safety of students and staff is of utmost importance. So if that's in your resolution, you need to tell us how that's going to happen. Item 7 says an approach to best monitor the health and safety of students, adhering to health and safety guidelines. Our special ed students, many of them need to be walked hand in hand. Many of them need to have need to have close contact. Many of them need changing of diapering. How does that fit into the safety guidelines? Under item 4, and again, item 4 I think is really an important part for the district, talking about learning loss. There's no doubt that student instruction is suffering, but most of us have found avenues to continue student learning. Learning loss can be made up over the course of 2 to 3 years after this is over. But keep in mind, learning loss does not put a student or a staff member in the hospital. Not meeting safety guidelines could. So again, like I said before, it is easy to put these resolutions in place and plans in place, but it's difficult for us to implement them. And I've been told before that, some of my presentations get to be a little long-winded, and that at some point I get tuned out, and I apologize that happens. I just wanted you to know that there's a strong feeling from the teachers out there that the survey that the district sent out went to all employees, which is fine. All employees need to have their voice heard. But the teachers are the ones that are providing the daily instruction. The teachers are the ones that are in the classroom for 6 hours a day with the student. So I would like to know, what is the voice of the teachers separately? I would like to know what their opinion is. I know I have many teachers who want to return to the classroom 5 days a week, whether it meets state guidelines or not. I know that. But I also have my finger on the pulse of our teachers. After doing this for 24 years, I could almost guarantee you that if I put out an unbiased survey that just explains to the teacher what your choices are, then I would probably get 70% of them that say, we need to just go into this cautiously. We need to make sure that all safety precautions are in place. We've got the month of November coming up, which is a short month due to Thanksgiving, and there's going to be a lot of family gatherings. Then we've got the month of December coming up, which again is a short month and has a lot of family gatherings, and we're likely to see spikes in infections. Personally, and this is not a survey of the teachers because I haven't put one out. Personally, I think it is prudent on the behalf of the district to look at the beginning of the second semester to make sure everything is everything is in place, from transportation to food service to social distancing to recess to band class to choir. By the way, they're not supposed to be inside singing. Everything is in place before we bring the students back on campus, so we can do the very best for the safety of our students and the very best for the safety of our staff. And I'm going to ask the board to do one thing tonight, the superintendent and the board, one by one, to go on record and to say, are you okay with the fact that at least one student will be infected? Are you okay with the fact that at least one staff member will be infected when we bring students back to campus before this thing is under control? If you're okay with that, put it on record. Sorry I take so long all the time. Thank you.
Madam President, can we allow our guest presenters to go so they can avoid some of the things that's going to come up, and we'll just go out of order, let them present, and let them get out of Dodge.
Sure.
All right.
Okay, we'll go ahead and go on to
Sorry about
No
that.
pressure, but I just.
Sorry about that,
I
ladies
didn't
and
mean to
gentlemen.
mess it up. Air out.
And we do this all the time, so don't worry about it.
Which isn't unfortunate, but we do it all.
Yeah, good evening, board members. My name is Eric Pagano. I'm with Advanced Plastic Technologies. We are a platinum reseller for Promethean products. And I've had the pleasure of, doing complete rollouts in many different districts in our surrounding areas. I talked to Mrs. Barbara Gaines earlier, and she wanted us to come up and showcase the Promethean Active Panel. So I brought the Promethean A team. We've got Rob Milstead, who's a regional account manager for Southern California, and Julie Porter, who's an education consultant. So I'm just gonna be mindful of you guys' time. It's been a late night, and I want to get home, so we're gonna get this thing going.
Thanks so much, Eric. Can you guys hear me about the same, whether or not I'm holding this? Can you guys hear me about the same, whether or not appreciate everybody coming out tonight and giving us this opportunity. Very simply put, Promethean is an ed tech company that is trying to make it easier for teachers to teach and easier for students to learn. That's our goal as a company. And the medium we're currently using to go about accomplishing that are our interactive flat panel displays and our 2 lesson delivery softwares, Active Inspire and ClassFlow. So Promethean has been in business for over 20 years. We're in over 1.8 million classrooms and 250 million students are being educated with the use of our products. So we want to mention our longevity and great reputation to help give you peace of mind when selecting a technology partner, right? It's a safe bet to go with Promethean. We're well known and able to deliver on what we say we're going to deliver on. The panel itself is an award-winning panel. Some of you might be familiar with USD. It's a National Educational Technology Conference. So in 2019, when there was such a thing as this conference before stuff changed, all the interactive technologies were brought together and panelists reviewed them and decided that our Promethean Element Series panel was the best in show for that conference. And when that conference resumes in 2020, we'll be looking forward, or 2000, yeah, right? In a few months, they're going to do it virtually. Yeah, we'll be looking forward to trying win that again, and a bunch of other awards as well have been given to Promethean. So for the interactive flat panels, we have our Element Series panels. This one here is called the Titanium panel, and it is a 4K anti-glare display, very sturdy. It won't break, bounce around all over the place. So it's made with good commercial grade plastics, etc. And you see that we say it's purposely designed for the classroom because everything Promethean is doing is for the classroom. That's what we design our products for. So small stuff you might not necessarily think of, like this center console here, the way it's angled and easy to see. Before we had small buttons and teachers would kind of do this type of thing. And then we got feedback from schools we work with and found out that this would be a better option. The designing of this tray, just all types of stuff you might not think of, are included in these panels to make them very easy to use and encourage adoption with teachers. Oh, I turned off the touch there when I banged it. Okay. So these are our active inspiring class flow, or our lesson delivery softwares. Julie is going to address those in a little bit, but what I want to get across tonight is the things that I show you on this panel are separate and apart from those softwares. Okay. So what you see on the panel and what Julie is going to do is different. We encourage schools to adopt the softwares. They're award-winning softwares used by millions of students and teachers. But the panel itself is something separate from those. So we have some different computing devices that can hook up to the panel. None of them are hooked up to this panel tonight. Okay, so everything you see here, if the school invest in these panels, doesn't need to buy anything additional to do what we're going to do here this evening. We have a panel management console app for IT departments so they can manage these things from a central location, so they don't have to go to each classroom and do things to update the panels, etc. They run on an Android 8 operating system. And what that does is, like, I'm sure everybody has cell phones, and sometimes you get a thing that says update. So the panel works the same way. We do all our own updates, and what will happen is we'll work with schools, and when we see that there's a certain need that needs to be met with our technology, we can incorporate it into the panel, and then in the update, it's applied to the panel. So if I would have been in here like 6 months ago, there's some features that you wouldn't have seen on this panel. If you would have invested in them 6 months ago, you would have the features now for free. So we provide those updates. Professional development is a big part of our offering and something we're very proud of. This quote here says, "Learn more in 3 hours on how to fully engage my students than I have in a long time. Thank you." And I really like what the quote doesn't say. You know, it doesn't say I learned how to turn on the panel and access the unified menu and go to the whiteboard app. That's not really what we're trying to do with our professional development. Yeah, it's included in it. You know, they need to learn how to use the panel. It's very easy to use. But Julie is been a teacher for quite a long time. She's here with us this evening. She does our training. And what she'll do is come in and show your teachers how to use their existing core curriculum and use the panel to make it easier for them to deliver lessons and for students to learn. So that's the idea behind it, right? To really help your teachers to understand how they can use this technology to make their life easier and also help students learn. So we also have a professional development webpage with all types of free resources on it. It just won an award this year for the Tech Advocates Awards 2020 for Best Professional Development Website. Teachers can become Promethean certified teachers. There's all types of quick tips and videos. Lots of stuff for blended and distance learning right now going on that website. So anytime they'd like to learn at their own pace, that's available for them to do. All the hardware standard with a 3-year on-site warranty. There's plenty of support from Promethean. The district would have Eric to reach out to, myself. We have an inside representative they could reach out to, a service department. And we don't want to let any problem get too old. It's very important to us that if there is an issue, we make it a priority and make sure and get your district taken care of right away. So that's about it to get us started. I'm gonna actually show you the panel a little bit now, okay? And we'll run through it. So everything on a Promethean panel really runs off this unified menu. You can open it from the left, you can open it from the bottom or the right, and that's more feedback we got from teachers. Some like to teach at this side of the board, or they might find themselves over here. So it's always within a fingertips reach for them, easy to access. We like to get students up to the board as much as possible. So for the little ones, we have one down there at the bottom they can open up. Within the locker, so it's set up, it's super easy to figure out how to use a Promethean panel. Like, one of the small things we've done is our icons are labeled. Like, it says locker underneath it. So it might not sound like a big deal, but for teachers using these, they don't have to memorize what the icon looks like and go back to it. It says it. It says whiteboard. Everyone in the room can figure out what that's going to be before I even probably open it up. So within our locker is where all your apps are going to be stored on the panel. And we have availability to the Google Play Store on the panel. So since that's available on the panel, teachers are able to download whatever they want, just like you would from the App Store on your phone, right? And there's all types of really great educational apps that are free on there that teachers can use to engage students. We like to see the panels on rolling stands because then they can become kind of a center or a pod in the classroom for small groups. So you can see here, I've downloaded some, Google Maps, Classroom, Chrome, things like that. So you can put as many as you want in there and move them around, etc. There's user profiles on the panel. I won't get too much into that, but you can have a user profile on it. And probably our most used app is our whiteboard feature. It has a pen tool on it. Promethean has a very smooth writing experience. You can pinch and zoom after you've written, resize it, put wherever you want. And then there's a palm erase feature also to where you can just easily erase whatever work you've done. You have different papers available. There's just a regular line paper. You can change the color of the lines on the paper. You can resize the paper to whatever size you want. And you can change the background color of the screen as well. So you can also easily import any images you might have, either saved to the panel or on a thumb drive. And we also have some built-in charts and templates that you can pull right in. You just tap it, and then you can resize this and move it wherever you want on the panel itself. So in addition to the pen tool, there's a highlighter, and you can change colors. There's a color palette down here. We have graph paper available and some built-in math tools. So there's our ruler there. We can move that over and just, we hold that there, draw a straight line across. I have black lines, so it's kind of hard to see right now, but then we can take things away and bring them back. So the first time I saw one of these interactive whiteboards, what I pictured is like a replacement for that whiteboard right there. Okay, you don't have to buy dry erase markers anymore. You don't get, markers on your hands, and you can save your work. But come to find out, teachers are using them to create like just fun little interactive lessons for the students, So I put one together for it, right? That, of course, is John Florence. And now you can kind of see why you want to change the background color on it, because you're putting together something with pictures and whatnot. And you see up in the right corner, that compass, it's an infinite canvas. It goes on forever. So teachers can build out any size lesson they want. And then they're able to keep track of where they're going up in the top right corner. So we talk about getting students up to the board. I made a little interactive activity, very simply, where you might want to match the type of surfboard to what it is. So all this can be moved around. It's pretty fun. We have some waves over here, you know, if a teacher wanted to teach about the different type of waves that are available. And then down here, I created a real simple activity where you could put the panel into split screen mode. Did you see how the toolbar went away on the left? And now we've got 2 down at the bottom. And then if I wanted, I can open up a spinner that can be loaded up with really any information you want in it. So we have children's names. The kids get excited when teachers do this, right? It's just a way to engage them and, oh, is my name going to be called? So Hannah got called. We'd bring her up to the board and maybe spin one more. And then we could go ahead and set a timer on the board. So the panel has 20 points of touch on it. And these apps float over anything, okay? So when I open that spinner and timer, regardless of where you're at on the board or what you even have hooked up to it, let's say you had a document camera hooked up to it, well, you'd still be able to access these. They're always available anytime the teacher might need them. So now they might set a timer and bring 2 up, and then they race to do the matching. And it has 20 points of touch. So you can have, 20 fingers writing on it at one time for the board itself. So I'll take it out of that mode and then go down. So the panel also has a multi-screen mode. So when I press that button down there, it's going to shoot us over to the left. Yeah, there it goes. Yeah, it's going to shoot us over to the left. And then I'll open up this is just a YouTube video, right? I'll open it up. There's 15-watt speakers. Fill the room. Yeah, that's not nearly turned up all the way right there. So it's kind of, it's just a video off YouTube, 360, you can move around. So I could pause this video and come over here, and there's a screen capture feature that's always available, no matter what. So I took a picture of the video, and now I can crop it to whatever size I want, hit done, and then open it in the whiteboard. And so now I can put that in my CERT lesson notes, so all these features are always available. And that's and then we have annotate also that's always available. So if I go back to my video here, I might want, you can move them wherever you want. See, so, as much as you want. And then I can always write over anything, right? Right into the board. You guys want to see it? You can open up multiple different apps. You could have Google Maps going, all types of stuff. So that's really a quick overview of the board that I wanted to give you. I want to introduce Julie. She's one of our education consultants. She's going to show a little bit of our software and also how the board is being used with school districts all over the place for distance learning and blended learning environments. So Julie, if you want to take it away.
Okay, thanks, Rob. So yes, I was a teacher. I taught K-8 music, and then I kind of weaseled my way into teaching art and theater as well. So obviously math was my strong point. No, I was the artsy teacher. Math was not it. So these panels and the software I'm going to show you were obviously designed with a traditional classroom in mind, where the teacher is in front using this display and the students are watching. We're going to do a little setup here and show you what we and teachers have kind of discovered with this blended learning model, that this panel can actually be a great tool to use with Zoom and with your students, whether you have some in the class with you, some at home, all at home, whatever is happening here. So I'm going to go into Zoom.
So we also have a screen share app with the panel. And what happens within that screen share app is there's a waiting room where students can put any device they want in there. by entering this code. So I'm gonna do that from my laptop while Julie starts that Zoom meeting.
So we're basically gonna pretend that Rob is the student at home, Julie's the teacher in her classroom.
But that's not all, because the software I'm going to show you is called ClassFlow, and it has turned out to be just a real rock star with distance learning. And so we're probably going to be asking you all to join in on this. So if you have your cell phone with you, get it out. And once I get my little session up here, there'll be a screen telling you how to connect to this class.
So I've joined her Zoom meeting just like a student would at home, okay? And she shared her screen to that panel. So this is what the student sees at home, right? Now, just so you guys can all see it, I've mirrored this laptop to this screen, so, you know, it comes in big, right?
So now you guys are all seeing what resides on Rob's laptop. I know this is getting confusing, but we want you guys to all be able to see at the same time.
Yeah.
And the reason you're stuck there looking at the back of me is one of the things we have kind of found through a lot of trial and error doing PD remotely all summer long is that it's really helpful for the students to see the teacher. So I have my phone here being a webcam basically, and it's showing me so the students can still see the teacher's smiling face, but they can also see what I'm doing on the panel. However, notice like through most of Rob's presentation, you couldn't see much because Rob's body was right here. And so if I'm drawing on my screen, I'm also blocking that. But you can see on Rob's screen, I've shared the panel screen as in the Zoom. So you've seen what I'm doing and the result of it happening on the screen. Sounds confusing, but in real life, it happens to work really, really well. So they're seeing the teacher still gets to model, which is so important in learning. And it's easily seen because this is a participant in the Zoom that is sharing the screen. Okay, so let me move this guy out of the way so you can see. What I'd like you to do, if you have your phone, is go to classflow.com/student. Let me erase the scribbles I put over that. classflow.com/student, and the code that it's going to ask you for is QWZZR. You'll click join, you'll type in your name. You can use any name you want, just make it school appropriate, please. And so students can participate in ClassFlow on any device, anything that will reach the internet. So it can be a phone, it can be a computer, it can be a tablet, doesn't matter. We have a couple people. And I'm just going to walk you through just a very, very quick sample lesson. There's so much you can do in ClassFlow, but the heart of it and the part I most appreciate as I'm doing distant teaching and the teachers I'm teaching are doing distant teaching is that you can send out questions to your students and have them send back the responses, and you collect them here. You can do things with them. You can send them back out. There's a lot you can do. But it helps the students to all be part of a conversation, even though they're not in the room with you. And one of the things we discovered with ClassFlow in the classroom, and it works also with distance learning, is those kiddos who are just like way too shy to ever raise their hand, they participate in ClassFlow because they don't have to kind of stick out personally and worry about how they look and all. They can just answer a question on their screen. It comes up here and is part of it. So I'm going to move on here so we can start sending some things to you. So I had Octopus on the Brain because my husband got me to watch that documentary, My Octopus Teacher. If you haven't seen it, watch it, it's awesome. So then I made a lesson about octopi, octopuses. So my first question is gonna be, how many arms does an octopus have? And I could send it to you using this little arrow here, but I'm gonna actually send it as a question. And it's a number question. So I'm gonna send it to you as a number question. And you'll notice when you go to type in your response that you can only put in a number. It won't take anything else. And the answers come in here, and they are, I can do things with them. I can move them around. If I had some that went together, I could connect them. I can start making a whole mind map here. I can color code them. I'm gonna go green because 8 is correct. 40, not so much. And whenever I ask a question of students, you know, you always get that one where you're like, that's a rabbit trail, we should probably go down. Well, any of these answers, I can tap on these 3 dots here and choose pull from here. And I can, let's move it something good. Pull from here. I'm gonna ask you 40 arms on an octopus. Is that true or false? And so now you're gonna have a whole different question, not one that I planned ahead of time, not that was part of my original lesson, but something that came up from another student's answer. Now, the other thing you'll notice is there are no names showing. So again, there's a nice anonymity for those students who would rather die than have their name up here with an incorrect answer. However, should I feel the need for public shaming, I can click show names, and there they are. Even if I never show names, ClassFlow is going to collect all these responses for me with the names. So I'm collecting data the whole time. Who's tracking with me, who's really not getting it. And when I do that pull from here thing, my other question is on here somewhere, there it is. So this space becomes 5 times as wide and 5 times as deep as the normal ClassFlow space. And I can collect all sorts of answers and rabbit trails and you know. On to the next one really quickly. Okay, it's gonna be a text poll. I want you to name this octopus. So now you don't have to type a number, you can type a word. And make sure you hit submit. We've got Sally, Oliver, and Barney, great names. Another thing I could do in this space is I could double tap and create a whole other question that I want to send out. So something occurs to me that I think, we should probably talk about that. I don't have to type. I could actually draw. Say, okay, we're gonna do another little octopus here. What is wrong with this octopus? How many legs does he have? Not enough. So there's one of my favorite things to tell teachers about ClassFlow is there's lots of opportunity for spontaneity. They can add things on the fly, and it will, again, save all those results. Okay, let's stop that one. This next one is called a word seed. That's your brainstorming type question. So on the last one, if I asked you to change your answer, it would actually change up here. So if you had put in Barney and then you were like, no, I really want it to be Betty, you could delete Barney on your screen and put it in, and Barney up here would change to Betty. But word seed is exactly the opposite. You could put in Barney, then you could delete it on your screen and put in Betty, and both Barney and Betty will show up here. So when I want my students to generate lots of answers, I use the word seed. Anybody can submit.
Oh.
We've got a couple Octobers. And again, I can move these around, do things with them. So somebody who submitted October, go ahead and delete that on your screen and put in a different word.
Octagon.
Exactly. There we go. So this one, we can really generate all kinds of answers, do things with them. But Octomom, I love it. Okay, my favorite question type, because again, I was the creative artsy one, is called the creative poll. And when I send this out to you as a creative poll, and this is one where the phone might not be the best choice for it, but it should work. You'll notice at the bottom, you're gonna have several tools like shapes, text, pen. So what I want you to do is create a different kind of octo animal. So use the pen, draw your animal's head, and then give it 8 legs. Or you could cheat a little bit. Let's bring this one up so you can see it. You could just cover up this cat's head and make some other kind of animal head. Or the creative poll gives you access to your camera. You can take a selfie and put your own head here over top of the cat's head. And then don't forget to hit submit. Now that using the selfies has been just a great tool because kids just hate taking selfies. So it's like torturing them. I'm kidding, they love it. But it's been a really neat way to bring in empathy. So if you ask students, for example, think about how King George might have felt when he got the Declaration of Independence, which is a long list of complaints from his colonists. So then you get all these selfies with grumpy, sad faces, mad faces. But you've just asked those students to put themselves in someone else's shoes and show on their face how that person might feel. That could be a historical figure, it could be a character in a novel, lots of uses for it. These come in as little thumbnails. I can just double click to show one nice and big. I could send this back out to the students and ask them to add more colors to it, whatever I wanted. It's been a really neat way to do math problems. So I could just send them a blank screen and say, write your math problem. Or if you're working on paper, use your camera, take a picture of it, put it on this page and send it. Now I have everybody's answer here. And I could choose one and send it out to everybody and go, do you see the problem in step 2? Can you fix it? And as long as that student was savvy enough not to go, hey, that was mine. Nobody has to know. There's no names around here. So that's the polling really quickly. I can also really easily put YouTube playlists or YouTube videos onto a card and send it right out to the students. And it doesn't play ads in the beginning. It just goes right into the video, which is neat. This one was going to be, there's an activity builder in it, and it's really easy for teachers to make 10 different types of activities. And they're easy peasy and really neat for the students, and they can send them out to the students and have them do them. Oh, here's one. So if I hit let's play, it's going to be a labeled diagram of the octopus. But the teachers have a blast with that. And every time I do trainings with them, that's the first thing I have them do is build an activity that they can use in their classroom. And, they're super great. I like them a lot. It is also a great way to push out websites to your students. So I've embedded our Learn Promethean that Rob mentioned right here, and students that are connected here, when they get this card, there'll be a little blue open button on the upper right, and that will take them to a new tab that will go directly to that website. You can also put in little, what are called student cards that automatically shoot out to the students. So something like Kahoot becomes very easy because you can embed your Kahoot quiz on your card, and at the same time you go to that, the students get the card that puts them right on the student site. So you're up and running. If you're not familiar with Kahoot, it's like a classroom game show. Yeah, pretty fun. I want to make sure that you see before we leave class 12, and get out of this lesson, we have a marketplace, and it is absolutely loaded with already made lessons, PDFs, simulations, you name it. There are all kinds of things in here. And they are available to the teachers for free. They can adopt any of them, edit them, use them. They can share them among each other. They can collaborate. We think it's pretty great. And it has been the real rock star with the distance learning. a real good way to get students to be part of the conversation. That was the quickest step I've probably ever done in class flow. But I hope it gave you a little sense of, and it's just a web-based program. Teachers could use it with a computer if they needed to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Julie. Do you guys have any questions for us before we go? Is it, yes, ma'am?
I do, Julie. You touched on it briefly, but I just wanted to, let's go back when you were talking about, I think, math, checking for understanding. Let's say we're in that third part of the lesson, the you do, where the students are now doing, let's say we're multiplying or dividing fractions. How many students can you see their work on that screen? If you want to do a quick checking, do we understand how to multiply or divide fractions? How many students can you see their work?
We have had up to 350 people connected in a class, and all of those would show up. Now, they wouldn't make them like 350. If they resized them to all fit on one screen, wouldn't be useful. So it would be something where you'd probably have to scroll a little to see them all.
Okay, so
But
a class of 30,
A class of 30,
35,
no problem.
you could see all of their work. And
Yes.
then you could see also the name, obviously, just to see
If
the
you
work.
chose to, yes.
Yeah, well, to check for understanding, I think
Yeah.
you would have to really
Yes.
grasp
Now,
who
one of
gets
the-
it, who
yeah.
doesn't.
One of the, speaking of showing names or not, one of the things that's built into it, so the teacher could have ClassFlow up here on the screen. They could log in on a second device, computer, iPad, whatever, to their same teacher account, join this class in session. Now this becomes a remote to run that. So they're not stuck up here. Like after I made the big deal about it's important for the students to see me on the camera, I spent the whole time up here with you, but from home I wouldn't do that. But if I'm running ClassFlow with this as a remote, everything I do here happens up here. If I go up here, I want to do things up here, they'll happen here. The one thing that doesn't go to the next device is show names. So that's a way, like in the classroom, if I have students doing something and their names are not on it, but I want to see who are the ones who answered 27. I can just go show names on my little device here and I can see their names, but they're not displayed up here in front of all the students. So there's lots of little thoughtful features like that that make me as a teacher really proud of ClassFlow.
So the only thing this thing really can't do is make us a COVID.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'll tell you though, my favorite demo question, I sent out a creative poll that had a picture of the coronavirus. And I said, okay, here's your chance. Draw something destroying this virus. And we got flaming arrows and swords.
I would draw a gym.
Yeah.
We got a ready-made coronavirus lesson for you.
Yeah.
So I got a question for Dan. Dan, is this something that we would filter down where we lose a lot of functionality because we apply so many filters to it?
No, you wouldn't lose any functionality.
Okay, because it seems like sometimes good programs get going and we filter it down and we lose functionality on some things.
Well, you said you could download all these apps, so we're gonna be able to download any app we want?
From Google Play, from the Play Store, we have to make a decision, but I would imagine that we would have it open.
Because
But
I need
something-
to install a simple math program, I have to have IT come and do it.
So, yeah, I mean,
It's a
that's
different-
my question. It's great to have all these HISU things. But if we ourselves inject so many filters where you lose that functionality, what good is it? If for you to be the most productive and
Yeah, it's a little bit different because it's not an app that's installed, it's a website. So the functionality really lives in the website itself. Also, even though students are connecting to it, it does not collect email addresses or any of that. It's COPPA, FERPA, and whatever the other one is, compliant. And we have all that paperwork available too.
And so how do I show written direct instruction, not on that board, but at my workstation and it's displayed on that board?
You can do it wirelessly.
Yeah, so that's essentially what I did, if I understand your question, what I did earlier with this screen share. So there's a code right here, there's an app on this computer, and then I say that I want to enter on my computer, and you see this popped up right there. So all your students could be in this waiting room. And then as the instructor, okay, you have to grant permission so people can't just be sitting their screen up there willy-nilly. You would just click on that and share. And then, so now, let's say this is your teacher machine, right? There's touchback. I can work from this panel wirelessly. Like if I want to open our Active Inspire software there, you can do that wirelessly. I'm clicking on the right one.
It's huge.
Yeah, sorry, I clicked on one that didn't work on my computer. So, yeah, you can open that and then work, directly from the panel or from your computer here. So if you have written instruction you want to send up there, you could have that on your computer screen and go.
No, instruction that I'm writing,
Uh-huh.
as if I'm using a document camera.
Yeah, well, you could plug a document camera straight into it.
Or you could plug a document camera into your computer, and be sitting at your computer, and it's going onto the panel.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can have a touch
A
screen.
lot of times we show
Computer.
with screen
Or
share.
if you had a tablet, that you
Yeah.
were writing on.
With screen share, we'll show teachers how you can also cast up your cell phone, for example. And the reason you might want to do that is because it has a camera on it. So it becomes like a roving dot cam. You could go up to written instructions.
No, it's like what Mrs. Gaines was saying. I'm a math teacher.
Mhm.
I teach by writing and
Right.
showing students, and they need to see that in real time. And so that was my question. How do they see that in real time?
So like over a Zoom session or something?
Yeah, I do it during Zoom, I do it during live class, I do it while I'm sitting facing the students, not standing at a board with my back to the students.
You might want to have a document camera as well.
So the document camera connects to that, so it's showing what I'm writing on in a notebook directly onto the screen, much like a projector
You can
screen.
connect your document camera directly to the panel, or connect the document camera to your computer and be streaming your computer to the panel.
Got it.
Or if you're just, this.
Well, you don't want to teach, you're saying you don't want to
You
teach
don't wanna
like
teach
from the.
No, I learned a long time ago, don't turn your back to the students.
Eric, can you just explain, which one of those, I forget, the titanium is one of them?
Both of these are titanium. The one that's behind Julie is Rob's 70-inch. The one that's right behind Rob is my 75-inch. The nickel, we have a nickel as well here. It's in Dan's office. There are some differences. This is more of the Cadillac model. The nickel panel it's very, very, very similar. It's just, you lose some of the features. This one's got a proximity sensor. It's got the backlit console. It's able to do the split screen like he was showing you before. It's got, I think the wattage on the speakers are greater with the titanium. And I'm missing
It
something?
also has that pen touch differentiation.
Yes, it's got a pen and touch differentiation.
And what that is just, I can stay on the arrow tool here on my whiteboard and my pen will still write and my finger will move and my palm will erase. So I don't have to keep changing tools to do that. It just all.
And you can make these thicker.
Yes.
You can do that on both of them,
On both of them.
on both of the panels.
I just wanted the board to see how this one stand does,
Yeah, we've got many different options with mobile carts. We've got fixed mobile carts that you can adjust the height on them, but once they're installed, they're pretty much probably gonna stay there. This guy, you can move it up or down on the fly. We have all kinds of different mounting options. And I think one thing that we didn't add, is just the partnership you get with an investment with Promethean. We're not just hardware salesmen. We want to come out here. We guys want you to be successful. We were talking to Mrs. Gaines before. We do really cool things like have Promethean summits to get your teachers fired up and get them bought in, because they have to be interested in this stuff and they have to be trained right for you guys to be successful. And that's what our goal is for you guys to happen with you guys. We're there for your guys' success. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Fine. So how do you clean these?
So what we have said for years is just microfiber cloth, and I've cleaned some gnarly boards with microfiber cloth. But now we're in COVID time.
Right.
Yes.
So how do you disinfect them?
Disinfect it. There's a deep clean that we have instructions for. That would be something that more the custodial staff would do. That involves kind of industrial cleaners and stuff. For every day in the classroom, it's just a squirt bottle with half rubbing alcohol, half water, and we just tell the teachers spray it on the cloth first, not right on the panel, and then use that. And that's pretty good for, it's not the deep sanitization, but it's.
Right, because if you have multiple people touching the screen.
Exactly, yeah. The other thing is, it comes with 4 of those styluses. When you're thinking about a classroom full of kiddos, you don't necessarily want them all touching a stylus. You can use things like cheap plastic mechanical pencils with the lead removed. And what we've seen teachers do, or chopsticks also work.
Chopsticks were great.
Yeah, and so what we've seen teachers do is have like a plastic cup that says clean. So all the newly cleaned mechanical pencils or chopsticks or whatever are in that cup. Student comes up, chooses from that cup, writes something on the panel, puts it in the dirty cup so that everybody knows that those need to be.
Or I mean, you can give every kid their own chopstick if you want.
Or that.
There's no technology in that stylus. So, I mean, those things walk away all the time. Our older boards, they used to have technology in them and they were expensive. And so we kind of realized that, hey, if you guys want to replace these things, you're not stuck with your board not working. I mean, you can use, like she said, an old pencil, a pen without the pen, pushed out. There's lots of different things you can use for stylus. And you always can use your finger as well. But I know, I think this type of day and age, we kind of want to keep our hands on.
Anybody
Thank you
else
very
have
much.
questions?
What's that?
I just was asking them if they had any more questions.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you guys
We'll get
very
out of
much.
your
Thank
hair
you
and let you
very
enjoy
much.
the rest of your meeting.
Thank
Good
you
luck
very
with
much.
everything.
So we have much more business to take care of, but we really appreciate you letting us show this to you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The prices range from what to what?
From the titanium to the, I mean, it depends on size. We've got many different sizes, and then we've got the 2 different models. But if you were to do a side-by-side comparison of size, off the top of my head, I want to say the nickels, 75 inch, I'm going to say the nickels about $700, somewhere around there. I have to look. There's quite a bit of a different price difference.
So $500 to $1,000 per unit.
No, per unit?
That's difference.
Difference.
What's the ballpark?
The units are about 4,000,
So about 4,000 per unit.
4,000 plus the stand, something like that. Or that includes the stand, I think.
Yes.
That includes the stand. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
That's why it's taken with them.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
He's leaving the
Thanks
other
again.
one.
Great to see you.
Okay, so let's get the CBO report. Mr. Martin?
Thank you. Just really quickly, following my pattern of praise during the time, lots of activity going on with classified staff. Working, seeing you to it.
Testing.
Sorry. To continue my pattern of praising staff, just as we're thinking about bringing small groups of students back, and what are we doing with all students, and how is that pattern going to work? Is it timelines? I want to give praise where praise is due, and just acknowledge, my classified folks. specifically the ones who directly work for me and the ones that I work with most frequently. Raleigh and Quinn in maintenance and grounds. They're working with their teams and doing a great job of preparing people and going through and double checking protocols and equipment. And Raleigh and Quinn today, we were having conversations about what kinds of supplies do we have available and how fast can we mobilize. And they're very responsive and very quick to do everything they can to sort of help and support us as we're trying to check and double check. Ashley Stovall, Scott Sexton, and Reese Lazat, and transportation, as well as all drivers. We've talked about food service and that, but just in terms of preparing for cohorts of students to come back when that happens. Ashley has been really creative and innovative in trying to think about how are we still going to be able to provide meals, for example, to students out and around the district. Anything that needs to be ordered or monitored at this point for restocking and resupplying related to PPE or cleaning supplies and materials. And then Cami, who has stepped up and is supporting not only me, but HR and superintendent's office in working with COVID-related leaves and illnesses and how we manage all that and make sure that we're not only complying with our master collective bargaining agreements, but also with district policy and with added layer and new layers of what's coming out in terms of legislation from feds and from the state specific to COVID and other sorts of family medical leave. So I'm really proud of the team that we have and the work that they're doing, and I just want to commend them for that. When we ask them to do something, they're stepping up and they're doing what they need to do, and so they've just been great to work with. So thank you.
Associate Superintendent, Ms. Marcus.
Good evening. I want to kind of piggyback a little bit on what Jonathan was talking about, and everybody working very hard throughout the district to make sure that things are safe for when additional staff and students return. I know in my office we have Anna and Yesenia who are spending a lot of time on the phone, attending phone calls. They're trying their best to track down students that might be non-responsive or haven't checked in. Those kind of things. We've heard a lot of frustration from parents, that Zoom hasn't worked or, lots of different variety of reasons as to why students have not attended. And they seek out some different remedies for those students, getting in touch with IT, to see if there's hotspots or whatever the case may be to help out these families. And then we've been talking about Math Academies, and so they are getting ready to start. We are going to have students on our campuses starting on Monday, and that's for small, and it's after school hours. So at West Park, it's 1:30 to 3:30. So they have 12 teachers that are willing to teach that Math Academy. I think a couple of teachers are doing it on different days, but certainly that'll give us an idea of how things run and make sure that everything is as it should be and as we have been planning. And I think that's a big thing. A lot of times people don't see all the planning that goes on behind the scenes and what people are doing and how hard they're working to make things just right. So, thank you to all of those, people that are working hard and getting those things ready. So Math Academy will start on, we have a couple that are going to be Monday, Wednesday, some that are going to be Tuesday, Thursday. There's going to be training for we purchased Standards Plus curriculum for those Math Academies, and so there is a training on Friday, and that will take place via Zoom from 12 to 1. The curriculum has been arriving at the school sites the last couple of days, so it's kind of exciting. Teachers had the opportunity to purchase some manipulatives, and it's kind of like pulling teeth. I said, hey, let's give her permission for you to order a little something. And I've only had a couple of teachers that ordered some, so okay. But I did order pencils and crayons for K5, and then pencils for everybody. So hopefully that will get going. And then not to leave out Noemi and April, who also are in my office working very, very hard. They are testing all of our EL students, the initial placements, and so they have the opportunity to use the Promethean boards. And they've had some students, the middle school and high school students, they had come here, and so they use the Promethean boards. The students can stand up there, and they're real excited about them. They get to touch, they project their screen up onto the board, and the students are able to touch and do those kinds of things. So so they are working hard to get all of that done. I think they still have a few students at West Park that they haven't tested yet, but they are looking to get that all completed. So everybody's working hard. Everybody's doing a great job. So keep up the good work and keep moving forward. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? How many students do you have signed up for the Math Academy?
You know what? I'm not exactly sure. The school sites are still working to confirm who's coming and who's not. So I'm not 100% sure right now.
Superintendent, Ms. Gaines?
Good evening and welcome. First of all, I want to, on behalf of Southern Kern Unified School District, I want to extend our condolences first and foremost to the family of our sixth grade teacher from Tropico Middle School, Mrs. Jennifer Music, who passed this past weekend. And I just want to say that to her family that our thoughts and prayers are with them at this time. And also, we lost a retiree from Tropico who just retired, Miss Kathy Webb. I had the pleasure of meeting her 3 years ago before I became a superintendent here, and she always greeted me and let me in at Tropico when I would go there, and she was always such a delight. And so she just passed a couple of days ago, and again, I want to extend our condolences to the family of Miss Kathy Webb. I want to remind everybody that we have WASP visits coming up October 19th and 20th. They're going to be by Zoom, which is really going to be interesting, to both Abe Lincoln and Rare Earth. So I know that Mr. Torres has been working really hard to get both of the schools ready for the WASP visit. So we hope everything goes really, really well during the Zoom visit. I will be over there probably answering questions on one of the days. Let's see. I wanted to thank, first and foremost, all of our site secretaries, and I just have to name them because Cindy Benson from Roseman High School, Patty Galindo from Roseman Elementary, Debbie Hesselton from West Park, Vicki Heffler from Rare Earth and Abe Lincoln, and Letitia Watts from Tropico. They have done an absolutely great job. And of course, with that, I have to thank our own Miss Sally over here because they submit every week to her the participation weekly and engagement forms that the teachers are filling out, and the teachers, we collect those every week. They submit them, and these forms are required by the California Department of Education. And Sally and I get to look at them as they come in every week, and the teachers are doing an awesome job, incredible job. And I just want to also thank our site secretaries because they make sure that they're delivered and they're accounted for. And so I just want to say thank you to the 5 of them for great work. I also wanted to thank Dan and Sean in the IT department because, as you can see, we have a few of these boards. We've had 4 demonstrations this week, Dan, I believe, and all very similar, but somewhat uniquely different, the 4 of them. So thank you, Dan, and I will make sure that we thank Sean as well for making these presentations. So really, it's been a pleasure to participate in. And I believe that That's pretty much it. I also wanted to remind the board that if you look over there, you will see new laptop, a new docking station, and a new monitor. And I'd like you all to look at that before you leave this evening, because we are purchasing those with your approval, of course, for every teacher in the district. Will get a new computer and a monitor and docking station. So we're very excited about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gaines. The board communications. Mr. Jones?
I also want to give out my condolences to the family of both the people who lost over at Tropical. And I just want to say that we're going to do everything we can to keep everyone safe at all our school sites. Also, we hopefully will be opening as soon as possible. You asked the question that, am I okay with somebody getting sick? Of course not. But we cannot prevent it 100%. We don't control what people do outside of our realm here. But we will do everything that we can to prevent it and follow all state guidelines before we open. That being said, we will do, like I said, as much as we can with the guidelines that we have and go on from there. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I certainly felt grief over the loss of our employees. And I had some personal contact with both of those ladies, and so my condolences to their families. And they were both lovely people. And I wanted to note that these Promethean boards are being bought with special money, not taken out of our general fund. So, for those of you that think, oh my goodness, that we're spending all this money, we're getting money to mitigate some learning loss, and this is a special fund, and this is one way we're looking into using that money. And then I happen to know that everything is being done. Mrs. Gaines is saying that everything is being done, and there are extraordinary measures for disinfecting and personal protective equipment is purchased and distributed, and distancing markings at the schools. We are doing everything we can, but you still can't control individual people and what they do outside of our schools either. But as far as custodians coming in and dishes still left in the sink, dishes left in the sink is on you. If you make dishes, you need to clean up after yourself. That's all.
I just would like to say that my thoughts and prayers are to Kathy Webb and Jennifer Music's families. I just also was saddened by that news, and whenever we lose an employee of the district, it's really hard. One thing I'd like to say about Math Academy, I'm really excited that we're starting out, that we're going to get some students back into some classrooms and teachers, getting back to teaching. I think that's a start. And it's a straight path way to go, and I think we're doing good on that. Thank you for that, and for, going to that extent. I'm hoping that we can increase into the cohort or even the ED, and then the distance learning. So I'm really excited about that. If I had it my way, I'd go traditional if there was no social distancing. And I know that that's what it is, but I know what's best for the kids and for families would be if we can get back to school 5 days a week. But I know we can't. We have to go by what our governor says, the laws that we have to, abide by, and by our county. So that's all I need. That's all I need to say. So, Mr.
Yeah, I want to echo the condolences and agree with everyone said. I also want to thank all the comments from the community and staff. Many comments. Thank you for giving those. It helps us get the different opinions out there, and everybody's opinion does count. And I'll cut it short because I'm sure later I'm going to have plenty of other comments to make. So I'll keep you all in suspense.
Consent items A through D.
I'll make a motion that we accept.
Second by,
Tanksley.
all in favor?
Aye.
An absent. Okay, general, open blended model or traditional school machines.
Yes, the reason, I'd like to just kind of refer back to, Mr. Quillman mentioned that in the survey that, was created, there were, referrals to other blended models, not just the one that you as a board selected on July 15, which has been such a while ago. That was the A-B distant model. Because first and foremost, as your superintendent, I would never assume that that is the one that is appropriate or perfect for this time. We are now in October. So I wanted to see to get a feel for, was there something more preferred out there? So that is the reason that was created like that on the survey. I just wanted to always giving the board the option of making that final decision. I do want to say today I had a superintendent's meeting with Kern County Superintendent of Schools, and in your packet you all received something that looks like this, which is Kern County now is down to 4.1%. We needed to be under 8%. They predict that if you look at this document, that on October 13th, which is this coming Tuesday, Kern County will be off from the purple. It will go down to the red list. And because our numbers have been consistently low, I can tell you, for 3 weeks now. And the reason that we were extended out an additional couple of weeks is because there was a thought process that Kern County was not testing enough people. Therefore, we're gonna extend it to make sure that they are truly dropping in the percent of people who are getting COVID. So because what they're planning to do at and we heard from the health department today, is that if on Tuesday the 13th, we continue to decline and we stay on, our numbers are low as they are now, they are going to give us credit for the first week and for this week. So that would be our 2 weeks that we have shown that we can maintain numbers that are appropriate to be on the red. At that time, then on Tuesday, the prediction of Kern County Superintendent of Schools and the Health Department is we will go to the red level on Tuesday, which would mean we would have to stay there for 2 more additional weeks. Today, we were advised that should that happen, we will be eligible on October 27 to open our doors for students. Now, does that mean we could return to a traditional model of school as much as, like you, President Sanchez, there's nothing, I'm an advocate for students. There's nothing I would like to do more than open the doors at all 6 schools. But I cannot, in good faith, do the social distancing that has not yet been eliminated. At the point in time where they tell us there is a now on the buses, before I had to do every other seat, now I can have 1 child per seat in a bus. And if they're brothers and sisters or family members, I can have 2 in a seat. So they are little by little relaxing some of the mandates that we have seen in the past. So, that said, we would not be able to return at this time to traditional 5 days a week of school. And we don't know that until we have these meetings and we see every Tuesday if we're going to, what the health department says, and if we are really, really making progress with regard to fewer and fewer cases of COVID in Kern County. So at this time, I don't want to assume that the ABABD is the blended model. Would I like to open the doors for a blended model October 27th? I would indeed. But I don't know. As I said back then, after talking to the custodial leads, and I talked to all of them, one of them made a very, very interesting point to me that he didn't quite understand why we would want to AB, because if we're really concerned about cross-contamination of the children, why we would not have the same group of students for 2 consecutive days, and then the next group of students for 2 consecutive days. So I just want to bring that out there to you. If we're really, we have spent, as you've heard me say, they know it. I've spent, he knows it, thousands of dollars on high-tech machinery to disinfect rooms. I have more PPE. I'm always hurt when I hear people say, we don't have PPE. I have more PPE in storages and different places. I have kindergarten masks. I have shields. I have cloth masks. I have hand sanitizers. Squirt bottles. I have so much PPE. We've been preparing for this. We have marked our schools. Tim Pingali and Pepe have done a phenomenal job at marking our schools, entrances and exits. I have signs in restrooms. I have signs telling kids entrances, exits. We have really done a lot in preparing. I sometimes think that, with all due respect to everybody, I could never do enough. I could never do enough. No one really is going to say what's done or not. But I just wanted you to consider tonight if whether you like October 27th and then again that all means that we would have to be on the red on Tuesday for that to happen. But at that time, I would be able to give the teachers union and the classified union the 10-day notice that we are returning to school, even in a blended model. And so I want you to consider that, but that maybe that's not your day that you think is appropriate. So I'm open to suggestions. And if you still like the ABD, or if you think that perhaps that should be changed, that I'm open to hear your suggestions. I just shared with you what the custodians initially shared that they kind of liked was the AA distance BB. And the reason they picked the distance in the middle of those 2 days was because they felt if I have the same group of kids on Monday and Tuesday, then they have Wednesday to go in and thoroughly clean and disinfect again before we bring in the next cohort of kids. This is going to be highly effective, especially at the elementary schools. So that's just, I'm putting that out there for your consideration or not. I just think that if safety is really what's driving this, then we should consider what is the best way that we're providing time and the ability for our custodial staff to do the job we want them to do, if that's really a consideration. So that's pretty much what I have there. That's the latest from Kern County. You have any questions you can discuss or information or take action, however you want to deal with it.
I wanted to say something about the difference between elementary school classes that all have the same students in one class, and then high school and middle school where you have rotating classes, that we might want to consider continuing with the block teaching schedule that we have going on, where they would do first, second, and third period, in blocks, and that just as it's doing now in distance learning, except in the classroom also. So
I like the idea of trying to start on the 27th of October, going back to school. If we stay out of the purple and stay on the red. Huh?
Yeah.
As long as we stay off the watch list.
Yeah, as long as we hit the red.
Because you never know. I mean,
Yeah, you
3
don't.
weeks from now, it can change. And I think that if we don't make a decision or a goal, then we're not anywhere. We're not doing anything. I mean, we are preparing and we are doing that, but I would like to see that we set a goal, a date, and who knows, 3-4 weeks from now, it could change all up. We could be in the purple again, and it changes everything up again. And I think we're going to have to be doing that as the months go by and the weeks go by, because as changes happen, we're going to have to, rearrange and make different decisions. But I think we need to set a goal. At least if we do that, I feel like we're at least doing something. Besides, I know we're doing a lot with all the cleanliness and the sterilizing and all the preparation and the PPE and all of that. I think we're doing okay on that. But I think that we need to really work on getting the students in school.
Well, we never stop thinking. We met today, Mr. Barth, and we met today again with with Raleigh and Quinn. We're always thinking of what could we do better for the safety of our staff and our students. How can we, to the point where now they're even thinking of building some mobile hand sanitizing stations throughout all the campuses for the kids, or the kind that are not just placed on the wall at the entrance of doors and things, but we're always trying to think, what can we do better? We know that it is a little bit different at the elementary school versus the middle and high school, because our middle and high school teachers see 150 to 180 sometimes students if we were in session a day. And so how do we deal with that? And so we're constantly thinking of what else we can put in place to make the safety of our staff and But we know that, that being said, I'm not going to sit here and say that none of our staff or students, district office, teachers, classified, none of our staff is going to be infected. That the day will probably come, someone will. But again, we can't say that it's because of what we haven't done here. People go all kinds of places at night and on the weekend. I cannot accept the responsibility for that. I have to think that my responsibility not only is to the safety, but our kids our learning loss is compounding tremendously. And when I get emails from teachers telling me how bad it is getting, there's a lot of validity to that because they see it. And parents are having issues with kids. And so I feel that we have to advocate for the kids in our community and do our best to try to recover with some of this learning loss that they're experiencing and have experienced since the end of March.
And then like Jim said, that this next month is a short month and so is December. So I think that's kind of good that if we did try to get started, it'd be short months. It wouldn't be the whole month, to try out as a trial basis. And then hopefully that's successful. And then we can go into January and, move along that way. And even with the different plans, I think I would like to consider maybe a different plan as consider the summer four that we have here when that time comes. I know with that with the AA and then the distant learning and the DB works with our calendar because it's already on a Wednesday, the minimum days and the PL days or whatever you have to do. So we don't have to kind of change that around. Just trying to make it as easy as possible so we can get the kids back in school.
So when's the next board meeting in this time frame?
Let's see, today's what is it, 21st, Sally?
Yes.
October 21st.
Actually, I would not be opposed to having another meeting next week. And we're looking to do the 27th. I say tonight, we set a goal for an attempt to open on the 27th. And we relook at the models next week. Let's get more information, because that's what we need to make our decision between now and then. And then see which one we want to go again.
We could talk about the different models now if you'd like.
We can if you want to stay here till midnight.
May I pose a few questions, Mr. Sanchez?
You want to finish or?
Well, I'm just saying that, I know we picked the model of ABAB because now you have the time distance for the kids to pretty much digest what they learn on, say, Monday. And then they digest on Tuesday and, if we distance learned on Wednesday and then they came back on Thursday, they have a little bit more grasp on what's going on. But on the safety side, the AADB is better because, like the custodians were saying, they can do a little better cleaning, and by splitting the week up, it helps them. So which way do we want to go? We want to go with the learning side or the safety side?
I think safety is what we're kind of talking about here as well. But that's good. That's good that we're talking about that. Now, Mr. Coleman,
Go ahead and give us your,
So if this deep cleaning is going on Wednesday, where are the teachers supposed to be?
well, we're talking after they're done with that's their distance learning day. If we do a Wednesday,
Right. So the teachers work during the day and then the custodians come in at night. Why can't they do that regardless of any schedule? The reason why we RTA recommended and then the board eventually adopted the ABABD model was because that was the recommendation of the teachers for the best instruction.
yeah,
And if they're deep cleaning after school at night anyway, it has no bearing as to whether Wednesday is a day off, is the distance learning or not. And I think Dr. Robinson brought it up. Doesn't matter at the middle school and the high school because I've got 6 classes coming in every day, 5 classes coming in every day, 1 every hour anyway. And so you've got cross-contamination.
That's why we need to consider different schedules for those types of classes than the elementary.
And then back in July, when the board suggested that if we could return under the hybrid model, AB, or whatever design it came up with, one of the questions I posed was, okay, let's go and let's start developing these 2 separate groups. Do we have those 2 separate groups of students now so that they are evenly split up? Are they ready to
They're
go?
working on that right now.
They're working on it. They're not ready to go. We don't know.
West Park is finished, Roseman Elementary is almost done. As soon as we have those, we're going to get the high school and Tropico done because we're trying to match siblings. So there's more siblings at the elementary. So we took those first, and the administrators, and they have a team that's working on those. We're working very hard. Then what we're going to do is split at middle school and high school, and we just will have to adjust to make sure that those siblings are on the same cohort, so to speak.
Right, the siblings need to be in the same groups,
Yes.
older and younger kids, and then within each period, they need to be fairly evenly distributed, so you don't have
Yes. Like we will
25
take-
in one group
If we
and
took
8
one,
in
we'll put
another.
one.
Right.
So we certainly are working on it.
Okay.
Jim, can I jump in real quick and just,
One more item is, October 27th, an arbitrary day is a Tuesday. Why not the following Monday? Those are the things to be considered. Lots of things to be considered, and you heard me rant and rave about the safety of students, but also the district is on the side of the instruction of students. And that's where the teachers need to have their voices and opinions heard.
Well, you guys said, AB, and then distance. I don't have a problem with that, as long as they're, the only thing that I had suggested was because, the custodians were the one that brought up the question about how, getting a little better edge on the clean. So, we're listening to everybody.
and Jim, I kind of, after I thought about it, and we did say when we agreed on AB Delta, that after 5 weeks, we would reassess. That was all we said. That was never out there. We did look at attendance. We did look at grades when at the time came, but we were still under where we're at. And then I got to thinking under further evaluation, and every email we get, same teachers that email you, believe it or not, Jim, we get those emails as well. And some of them, they ask them not to share who they are and what they got going on. But the preponderance of that was safety. Everybody's about safety. Nobody's, chirping about the instructional time and all that. It's all about safety. So when we look at that AA, whether it's AABB Delta or AADBB, there's whatever it is, it's that affords us, if we're on a block schedule, the first day, Monday, first, second, and third period for secondary schools, and then Tuesday, fourth, fifth, and sixth.
So you're only seeing that once a week. If it's a block schedule.
For the 2 hours, or
You're seeing that once a week.
and then you have less passing time. So when we're talking about safety, we're talking less passing time, because that's the less amount of time that they're walking, and then also limited the cleanup time in between. So you're not cleaning 5 periods that day. It's only the 3 and plus the lunch, so the 4. So really it would be 6 on a regular day. So that's kind of why that came up. When you're looking at the grand scheme, We've discussed, last time we talked about this, I'm a fan of walking before we run, okay? It's gonna be no shock to people that I still have doubts about sanitation and us being able to do that, okay? And I've said that every day, every email, and I'll continue to say that, whether that is we need to plus up custodial on campuses, if that's the issue, or the efficiency needs to be better, because I don't even know. I think I even asked in meetings if we can look at the efficiencies. And I also asked if we can do a walkthrough. Has that happened yet? A walkthrough through the eyes of a student with, a few folks on a bus and we go through. Has that happened?
No, but in classrooms,
Well, I've been in several classrooms and I've had, but I'm not sure about a bus.
I'm talking, we go through a day with a number of people from the student size and from the staff size and stress the system. That we stress the system. All of our plans are great until we stress the system. Is the time to stress the system when we bring students in. And that's what's going to happen if we jump on at 26 October, 27 October. And that is part of my concern. My second concern is enforcement. Okay. It's no secret. I often question whether administration enforces stuff often, and teachers as well. And a lot of that is self-enforcement, because I also get complaints from numerous campuses, people to remain unnamed, that teachers are walking around without their masks. Okay. That's self-governance. If they can't even do it, they're educated folks. They want the rights. They want all this stuff, but they're not even abiding by the rules that are set forth. That's an issue. Now, it's self-governance on them, but it's also the administrators not enforcing standards. And that's always been a problem the 5 years I was working here and the year and a half on the board. And I've always harped on that. Mrs. Hargis will tell you that every conversation we had. Why aren't we holding, the enforcing the standards? So all these X's on the ground look pretty. All the signs up on campus look pretty. But if we don't got the stomach to enforce it, it means nothing.
Well, we have certain students where it's unenforceable.
And
Unenforceable.
And I agree. I agree with that. And that's a concern. So how do we look at that? How do we approach that? But if we are failing with just teachers on campus, we're failing. That's an issue, because teachers should be able to self-govern it and they should be able to do what's right. And I shouldn't be getting calls or emails. And Jim, you probably seen it on campus as well.
Not teachers.
Well, yeah, I can tell you it's happening on every campus.
Not the campus I'm working on.
All right. Well, I get notifications
But
from people on campus.
Where I'm seeing other employees without sitting there all day long without their mask.
Okay, and that's true. I'll say all employees, SKUSD employees not wearing masks. Okay, so that makes you feel better. Yeah, but I'm a little concerned with 27 August. I don't know if we're ready. Do we have plans? Sure. Are they tested plans? No. Can we test them? Yes. I would be more apt, especially being in the middle or starting our second 9 week. I also said before, I'm not a fan of changing things up in the middle of a quarter. Okay. So remember, we were going to look at the 5 week to change it to 9 weeks. Well, I think we should look at this 5 weeks for change, which would be the half.
The quarter ends October 16th.
So, which we're there. The grades are, the grades are in, right? Correct? Or they should be going in.
It ends October 16th.
So my concern, I would lean more towards the January at the semester with an AA, BB, or D, or however we can make that work, just because of less passing, so there's less risk. And cleaning will be a little bit easier, because I know if we asked folks to clean and it's not their job, they're going to say no. So that's kind of where I'm standing. But I just think we need to stress the system.
I just want to say, Mr. Tanksley, that I had Mr. Adams send me pictures of classrooms at Tropico the other day, and I'm telling you, they were spotless, sparkling, and you could see yourself. They saw the pictures too, and the floor of these classrooms at Tropico. So I'm not really sure where all these, and I'm not understanding if we have such filthy classrooms out there, why I never get any word about it. I heard it in an MOU negotiation day with Mr. Tanksley. I immediately said to my administrators, I need to know. Went to Raleigh, went to Quinn. Where are these filthy classrooms? And I went out myself. I didn't see filthy classrooms.
Filthy and sanitized is two different things.
Well, we know they're sanitized.
Well, do we? Do we know they're sanitized?
Well, I think it could be a lot of communication, lack of communication as well too, because if one person's not happy, they need to talk with the administrator and handle it better.
And I agree with that. That's a good input.
Yeah,
If you have issues, go to your administrator and allow them to hold people accountable.
Right.
If you're not doing that, that is foul.
Okay, how else are you gonna know?
So I used to be in charge of a baby nursery. I had 16 babies in my nursery, and everything that we did to those children was written on a log. Do we have a way of logging in, this was sanitized at this time by this person? And can we just create logs for those so that then if there's an issue, we can go back and look at it and say, you know, where's the breakdown? Where's the weakest link?
I guess from our standpoint, number one, people don't want to rat other people out, honestly. They don't want to get their coworkers in trouble for not wearing a mask or for not doing the cleaning that's expected. We talk about cleaning and sanitizing, but is it written down somewhere that we can look at to see what is that expectation? We can say we're supposed to sanitize, but what does that really mean? It's like I said earlier, that I had to stop at Tropico on my way to the board meeting here, and I left my new little sign on the door saying, needs cleaning. I came into my room and the sign got turned over and it said, it's been cleaned. And yet some things, some stains and things I knew were there were still there. So what's the expectation? Right now, do I need my floor vacuumed? No, there's not students in there. That was the problem last year. With students there, the floor didn't get vacuumed for weeks on end. And if my sink isn't supposed to be cleaned, just tell me that, okay? Just tell me that. By the way, what % of our classrooms have sinks with running water? Beyond hand sanitizer, the best way to make sure that we're not spreading the virus is to wash your hands. That's number one. Hand sanitizer is a backup. How many of our classrooms have running water? Less than 50%. Raleigh was wonderful. He came to my room the other day. I texted him while he was on vacation. But because we've known each other for 100 years, he came to my room the other day and I said, Raleigh, look at this sink set up here. And how I have to hold over here with one hand the valve so I can rinse this, and then hold the valve with my other hand and rinse this, then get the soap and then wash. It's a transmitter of germs. And he goes, yeah, Jim, we can't change that without changing out the entire faucet. And yet my room has a faucet, at least it has that.
Yeah.
But it's not an effective setup. And less than 50% of our rooms have running water. So go into it with your eyes wide open. I'm so sorry.
And I have
But
no
this is
doubt,
what's going on.
I have
This
no
is what
doubt
we're
that we have a plan, okay? And I know they've been gone over, they've been combed through, but plans are only as strong as the weakest link, and we don't know what the weakest link is right now. And that's what we got to figure out. And I'm just one person, that's just one opinion.
So could we get an explanation on the hand washing stations, the portable hand washing stations that are
I don't think those are worth, or,
Huh?
I used them seeing this, I don't think they're worth the time.
Like they have at campgrounds and
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
they're useless.
One of the topics, Dr. Robinson, that Jonathan and I met with Raleigh and Quinn about today, the incident or the situation in Mr. Quellman's sink, using his sink as an example, was a conversation today. It is very hard because the water only stays running for maybe, I don't know, 9 or 10 seconds. So it's very hard to truly lather up and rinse your hands with that type of sink. That sink has been there for a long time. Where we left off in the discourse today was that we were going to, Raleigh was going to look into the cost to change the sinks so that they would be able to have running water longer to enable the teachers who have that type of sink to be able to wash their hands. Again, these are not small changes. These are, there is water, you have to keep, then you hit it again, and it is doable, but it's not the most convenient sink to have. So that's kind of where we were in that conversation
And
today.
that is, those were put in place because there are children out there who will turn the water on, plug up the sink, and walk away. You know.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, just to clarify, mine doesn't stay on at all. I don't even, that's what I was asking Raleigh, can it be adjusted so it does stay on? And it's not
So
adjusted.
just to clarify, the Superintendent Gaines was hit with a lot of information today. Raleigh did articulate correctly what your sink does, and their newer versions of what you have in your classroom can be adjusted so that they will stay on. The buttons, like on the fountain right over there behind the board, those you push and they stay on for a certain amount of time. Those can be adjusted so that they're 1 second to, I don't know what the limits are on the upper end. But like Superintendent Gaines just said, Raleigh has solicited prices for the wing or wings of your site where they have the type that you have, and those are coming, they may have come already this afternoon, they should be in by tomorrow at least, so that we can start the process of replacing those.
And these are the things we should have been doing the last 2 months.
But that being
for
said,
2
not
hours.
every classroom has a sink either. So
Pardon?
not every
The other
classroom
way
has a
is
sink.
Right, less than 50%.
Two
Yeah,
times a
so
week.
then you have the
Still
teacher
2
saying,
hours.
well, how come they get a sink and I don't have a sink? You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something, right? There's
Yeah,
always-
exactly.
Okay, right, okay, so you're fortunate because you have a sink and other teachers don't. Okay, so, and I just kind of feel like there's always gonna be obstacles and other issues coming on. I feel like it's just need to, not just jump in, like you said, we just take it in, set a goal, and I just feel like it could change. And if this changes, then it's not concrete. I think that we can just take baby steps towards it and then try it out, and if somebody comes down with COVID or whatever, we have a plan what we're gonna do. We do the whole, what do you call it, tracing and all that, and shut it down.
Yeah, President Sanchez, there is a very clear plan. Kern County Health Department, Kern County Superintendent of Schools. I have more information on the plans. There's a tracing plan. Anyone who even says I was possibly exposed, we know how to advise them on what they should be doing. We're not making this up as we go. Kern may change the direction a little bit, but they're very clear and make sure that we have that information as it changes. Just like this, being coming out today, increasing
And
the.
that can change tomorrow. Or
Well, it usually
following-
changes on Tuesday,
Yeah,
so probably
Tuesday.
not tomorrow.
Okay, next Tuesday could change.
Yeah.
So that's my take.
So, I make a motion that we take a vote on, returning, back to school when we reached our 14-day waiting period.
That would be the October 22nd.
Then we could wait until November 1st. October 26th.
Second.
Robinson, second by Terrace. All in favor?
Aye.
3 ayes.
Nay.
One absent. And I think I like your idea about doing the run. Maybe we can do that as a student. And maybe have some volunteer teachers that are be willing to be set up too, so we can do the whole run. And instead of doing we can do that as a work. Is that what you call it, like a work meeting or something, or workshop meeting?
Yeah.
You do it under that, yeah, and then we can discuss that and do that. I think we can do that.
So can we do that before the 14th? So that we
Well,
have more time to discuss it?
Well, we have to do it that following, today's the 7th, it would have to be next week, yeah. 14?
So do we have to make a motion to have a special meeting on the 14th?
I don't think we do, I think we can just say we're gonna have.
Yeah, because
Because it's a
right now we
workshop.
would vote on having a meeting on the 15th. It's not a special meeting. It's just adding the meeting to
Right, well, it's not like a regular meeting, it's a workshop meeting.
You call it
You call it a
special meeting.
workshop meeting where.
That's
Right.
you're absolutely right.
Right, right, so we really don't have to, I don't think we need to vote on that, we just schedule it. What time? On the 14th, well,
6 o'clock.
can you make it on Wednesday?
Six.
No, to do the run,
Oh, you want to go through,
yeah, I'd love to
look
do
at
the
the
run,
classroom?
yeah, to do a run,
We gotta do that, we gotta do that in the morning.
yeah, to do like 8,
Maybe.
can you do 8?
No, yeah, I'll make it work.
And
When we
you
go
can
around.
start at Tropico, because it's the next door, yeah.
You don't wanna start with the bus?
Huh?
Yeah, we have to start with
Bus
us.
and-
I want to be picked up, I want to be picked up at a stop, whether that stops right here.
Well, we have a stop right down the street from us.
And I want to invite, I already know 2 or 3 teachers who said they would step up and do it. I want to stress the system. I don't want just us 5 walking around.
Right, that's what we said, that we would do that.
And I want it set up where the temperature is taken. We stand in line for the bathroom,
Right.
everything that a child would do.
Mhm.
And to tell you what, I'm going to act like a child. I'm going to deviate and see if you all correct. Because I want to stress the system and see if people actually know, if the bus driver actually knows I'm not supposed to be sitting with somebody else. I want to see that. I probably shouldn't have given that clue bird.
And the bus driver will not be taking your temperature because he's not supposed to. He or she is not supposed to be. So I just want to make sure.
Whatever happens throughout that day, when it should happen and how it should happen, how long
Okay.
it takes. Because we may find out that it takes so long that first period is basically shot. Because
400
it
students.
takes so long to get that through. So that's the kind of stuff I want to see. Is it effective? Is it efficient? Is it logistically possible? Do we know that?
So which school
Because
are we
do
going to
have we
test
timed
at?
it? Have we looked at it? Just like when I discussed, how long does it take to clean a room? That's key if we're going to be cleaning rooms in between passing periods. Because if it takes 30 minutes, we lose 30 minutes out of the time, or however we're going to do it.
Yeah,
Whatever's happening, that's what I would like to see.
I don't believe Mr. Tanksley. I look at it from a little bit different lens and bear with me. First of all, I don't believe we're going to be cleaning Tropico or the high school's classrooms even on a block schedule, because that block schedule should mean that the students are now going to be in. And this is a new environment. No matter how well planned we are, we have to see what works best. We have entrances, we have exits. This is the first week. That's where I thought, let's bring them in on a Tuesday and let's have that first week. It's trial and error, and we're gonna make some mistakes. We're not gonna be perfect that first week. We're not perfect even on first week of school when there is no pandemic. So I know there's going to be some issues that we're gonna have to debrief. And then with the sites, and the sites are gonna say, I think if we move the gate over here or move the gate over here, that is gonna be a work in progress. That said, I mean, I think it's a great idea to go out and definitely assess, what we can with the limited number of people. But there are definitely going to be things that, whether we start in October, November, or January, there's still going to be things those first few days that are going to have to be tweaked a little bit, because this is something new. This is new to all of us. We're not perfect at this, but we have to test what we believe we do have in place.
And looking at this, we have a good chance of trouble because of that. With safety first, you know what I mean? So I think we just can
Thank you, Sally.
take the small steps and,
And I just need to say that the 14th, that morning, it does not work for us. We have a Kern County gentleman coming in to work with us on our learning situation, our learning plan. So
The 14th is when we're supposed to have a board meeting to discuss what we.
we're just talking about the morning.
Right, but I'm saying that we need to do our walkthrough on a different day than the board meeting day.
yeah, I'm just saying any morning, we're good except the 14th in the morning. That is,
Huh?
all the site administrators will be with us.
Mario suggested that we do another one so we can get the plan in place. And that's why I'm saying, do we have to vote on having another meeting? And if we do this walkthrough, it should be before that.
Well, I was trying to do when, if we did the workshop during the day, the morning, maybe after, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that the thing that you probably might want to come to a decision on is also the plan, because which plan you select, whether you stay with what you originally selected or you change, because I need to make the team aware that here's what we're going to do, here's how we're going to bring the kids in. Are we staying with a block schedule at Tropico in the high school? Those things, I have to give them time to make sure that these things are in place, to inform the teachers, to inform their teams as well. So I think that is the plan is a critical component here.
Yeah, because other people have stuff to do. I'm saying we need to do it sooner so that people can do.
But do we want to vote on a plan tonight, or do you want to do another board meeting? I mean, if we do the plan, then you can go ahead and move forward and then try and get the workshop going. And I call it a workshop where we can get through, run through the whole system from the morning to get picked up at the, transportation to the day. I think that's what you're saying. And we have a plan, then you know how to direct it.
Right. Well, I not just for your workshop day, Madam President, but because if you go with October 27th, which I believe this board just selected, that is 2 weeks from the 13th. So I need to start putting that into place as well. And but I'm saying that we can do the workshop any morning, but please not on the 14th, because we already have a training that morning with Kern County.
Vote on the,
Pick another day.
No, on a plan. We're trying to pick on a plan.
since you guys already had a setup for the ABAB with the distance learning on Friday that we did back in January. We'll stick with that for now and see how it works out, and hopefully by the beginning of the year, something different will show up that we can actually go back to real learning. I kind of have a feeling that there's gonna be a lot of changes between now and then.
I feel the same way too. I don't feel like anything's concrete, so.
Why you gotta wait till January?
If you want to do the AB, if you want to go with the plan that we have here, the AB and BD, and then do the workshop, then we'll see how it runs. And then come to the board meeting, the next one's the 21st, then we can decide if we want, we'll put the plan back on there, if we want to change it or look at it again. Just so that we can have some.
We can't change it that late.
It's,
5 days after.
yeah, it's a little bit, we have to be considerate of,
This week,
Yeah, to change the plan. Right now, you guys have been working on, with the elementary school, getting all their kids already on the ABD plan.
Well, basically, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have A list and B list, so it doesn't really matter.
Which one?
what days.
Or it's just, they'll be a part of the program.
The one thing that Mr. Tanksley mentioned that I think might be of consideration to you is if you look at block scheduling, even though now, with the boards, which will take a little while to get them, but we've been told that we could get them pretty quick. Actually, about 25 could be installed in a day. They have the ability for the students who are at home to also participate in the live learning of the students who are present at school. So that would be, it would not be like they were just getting 2 hours on one block schedule. But if you're a little bit, if you're concerned about the kids only having 2 hours of live instruction with the block, then the AB or AA, whatever, where the kids have 2 days of instruction, it's still very similar. It's still 2 hours, but it's separated on 2 days. That might be
But they would be
consideration
3
also.
periods on one day and 3 periods on the other day. So they're still only teaching in that particular class for 1 day a week.
On the block schedule, yes.
On the blocks.
But again, the reason that I think this board is considering the block schedule, let's go back to the reason I think you're considering the block schedule, is because you want fewer students on the campus. If we're really trying to address not only the academic, but the safety as well, a block schedule limits you to only 3 periods on any one day, so that decreases the students as well. So
And the movement on
The
campus.
moving in between.
Yes.
Passing is what it was.
yes, and the
But if
passing
we're
and
not-
the kids in the
I
classroom.
don't
Sorry,
necessarily
Mr.
know
Tanksley.
if it makes it different. If my misunderstanding that we were gonna clean in between every period, if that's not happening, or if that's not gonna happen, I don't think it makes a difference.
We can't.
So
We don't have the manpower.
So it's not gonna make a
for that.
difference, so point four,
What was that? When we met today, I asked that very question is because I figured that was the expectation that everybody was going to expect that. It would be done every period, and he said, no, it can't be done every period
No.
because that's a lot of
The
a lot of
chemical
disinfectant
itself.
in one classroom in one day. And
That's actually not healthy for them.
yeah, and so he said that
People in
it
that
kills
country.
it continuously kills for 48 hours, or disinfects, I should say.
That's 48 hours, and that's where that block
Right,
will
so
come in.
So we have addressed that issue.
The block, or like the custodians were saying, the AA distant BB.
think that would
is
be on the
also
neighborhood.
conducive to complying with that. We're taking advantage really of that 48-hour disinfection of the electrostatic tools.
So now you're saying that they wouldn't even clean nightly?
They would clean
No,
that,
they would, but it
absolutely,
just,
but they would do a more deep clean, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm hearing 48 hours, that's 2 days.
No, just say
That's
that,
the
that's a
efficacy.
different thing.
that's the
Okay.
effect of the
All right.
That's the
chemical.
effect.
So, I mean, I don't know if it necessarily makes a difference now. Playing 4 is just as good as.
This is why no other district is going back to school right now.
Well, I mean,
Well,
in Southern
In
California,
this entire area.
well, they can't.
well, the county will let them.
Huh?
I said, the only reason they're not open is because the county won't let them. Up north,
There is,
they're open.
there are some doctors, huh? There's
Yeah,
some
oh, yeah,
clinics
that's
around
right, Orange County open,
in San Diego,
in San Diego.
and they're big counties. Well,
And they're open in Arizona and.
but I think this is, we need to discuss this.
And this is why you need time.
Well,
We can't even decide on a meeting a week from now. Let alone, how are we going to get 400 students on campus each day? We need more time to do that.
well, the reason why we can't come up with the time is because there's some people working, some are retired and some are not, some are still working. That's why we can't decide on, on a date or whatever.
And I appreciate the board's tolerance with my constant interjections. It's out of order and I apologize.
One of the things that I would really like to see though, is that we, need to make a schedule or list of what we expect each one of the janitors to clean and sanitize.
And that's why I was saying, if they have something that they
Yeah,
have to
that's-
sign off on, that it's done.
Well, but they need to know exactly what needs to be cleaned and sanitized every single day. Kind of like basically giving them a job description of that every individual room. And then, every individual room needs to have a signing sheet that all those things were done in that room. It's kind of like, the Andy dumps or whatever they call those things. Anytime they are set up somewhere, the guy who delivers it, he signs off that it's delivered, cleaned, and sanitized. When they send somebody out to clean that at a job site, they clean, empty it out, clean it, sanitize it, and then they sign off on it. If for some reason, one of the foremen walks in, he looks at it, and the place is still dirty, that gentleman is going to be in deep trouble. And then he's going to think to who is not
That's why
doing
we
their
need
job
the paper
correctly.
trail.
And use the paper trail so we know what's going on. And I think we need that.
I don't think so.
There needs to be a concerted work with the teaching staffs at the secondary sites as to whether a block schedule, meeting students just once a week, or a regular schedule, meeting with students twice a week, is more effective or reasonable. It doesn't matter if it's A, B, B, A, B, A, B, but, what is gonna be most effective with, I'm sitting here thinking, how in the world am I gonna try to provide instruction to my students? Meeting with them once a week for 2 hours. And then what am I gonna give them to work on asynchronously for the other 4 days? Or, as Mrs. Gaines suggested, with the use of Promethean boards, which is gonna require hours of training during my non-work time, integrating yet another piece of technology to try to teach students at home while I'm teaching students in class? Or can I just somehow wrap my head around what I'm trying to get accomplished now with students who are there half the time and students that are home half the time. Wow. We're just getting distance learning figured out now, and this is gonna set us back 20 steps. Instructional.
I disagree. I'm sorry, I have to respect Mr. Quellman, I truly do, but I have to disagree with that. It may set the teachers back a few steps, but what it's gonna do for the kids is gonna be worth a whole lot. And I think if we lose sight of the kids, we have a bigger problem.
But when they're not following protocols outside the classroom, what is then the response going to be? Are these things put into place? That needs to be done as well, not just with the special ed students, but the general ed students as well. When there's refusals to follow protocols, what's going to be the procedure? Where is that written down? Give us those guidelines to follow.
Make sure that we have that in place. Look at discipline, we have to follow for kids who will not follow the directions. And the numbers that they're running around with no masks.
Teachers that are running around.
That is, that's the key. But we do have to have rules, and what are the consequences to those rules?
I think, I mean, it's nothing, it's not, I mean, we already have rules and.
But what are the consequences going to be?
Well, it would be basically almost the same thing, you know, disruption of the class, whatever, you know, same thing
Where do we send them?
to the office.
For their room, where they have to be.
Yes, yeah, the principal usually has one student there or three of them there, now he's gonna have to just separate them and do social distancing.
This would be more than 3 students.
I know that, I
So
know.
20, 30.
Okay, well, you know, you gotta do a trial.
Now, you're correct. I got a question. Can we actually send them home?
For not wearing their masks.
Yeah.
There's question, Mr. Gutierrez, that K2 students may not have to wear a
I'm
mask.
not talking about the real
I cannot mandate them to wear a mask.
The masks, I'm not worried
The
about. I'm talking-
older kids, I can. We have purchased several thousands of masks for even our little kids in kindergarten. Again, you know, I want the board to understand we're talking about children here. Children, let's be brutally honest, children, they're going to take off that mask. They're going to want to talk. It's going to be a process, not just for us, not just for the teachers, not just for the site administrators, but for the children too. They're going to have to be drilled a little bit on what's acceptable under this new environment and what's not acceptable. This is going to take time. That's why I said it's not going to be perfect for a while. Whether you start in October, November, January, it's going to have a trial and error period where we're fixing this and where the kids learn what is expected of them. Where do I wash my hands? How often do I wash my hands? When do I use the sanitizer? All those things have to be reiterated, and kids have to be, we have to teach them what we want them to do. They're not just going to show up on whatever day it is and be, as you know,
I think they're gonna be excited to be in school, so they might wanna be more.
And some parents have been diligent about teaching their kids these things at home,
Right.
and some have not. But the kids who've already been taught by their parents will really try to school the other ones. I mean, you know, but like you said, it's not ever gonna be perfect.
No, and I know that.
Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to address all the possibilities. One of these reasons, I think if we start, if not the 27th, the 1st, but before the Christmas break, I think it's a good idea because there's short months
Exactly.
and we can figure out all the mistakes.
Right.
And then while we're in the middle of the break, yes, some of us will have to work during that time and figure out what mistakes we made already
And
and how we're gonna fix it.
and it would be nice to have these things worked out so that the second semester will run smoothly.
Right. And maybe this,
By the way, today is my granddaughter's 16th birthday.
okay,
I just wanted to make a quick comment. We are going to be having our Math Academy students on campus. So, certainly we're going to be putting all of those safety precautions in place with them. So, I think that'll help us as well, because we want everybody to be safe. And give us a little trial and error and gosh.
So maybe you could give us a report at this next board
Well,
meeting
after reading.
on how that's going right now.
I certainly will.
After reading Leslie Lacy's emails that went out to the parents at the Math Academy, it did state, like, there's a warning, if they don't do it, and then the second time, they'll be sent home. That's good. So the parents are aware of it, the kids are gonna be aware of it. And I think they're gonna wanna behave because they wanna be in school. Of course, you're gonna have some that are ADHD or something, they can't help themselves, or whatever, but, well, I think we have to cross that bridge, at that time, and I think that's a good time to experience that, with the Math Academy, and see how that works, and stress.
I'll be at one school and, maybe I'll ask Naomi her, she could be at another school and we'll monitor how it's moving and so.
Thank you.
yeah, that would actually help quite a bit.
We'll definitely.
Okay, so we've already, went with the date of October 27th, so.
Right.
Yeah, I think since we think just the date and not the model,
Right,
should we float out a model?
you wanna do the block one?
Uh-huh.
You wanna go with the block one?
It has to be a different model for elementary and.
Yeah, the elementary one is just a
High school,
regular
right.
AB.
A, B, D, except that we have to do, the high school has to follow because they're in that code. So we have to follow whatever the elementary is doing, we have to follow that.
Yeah,
But
so
just the block, right?
let's start with, what model do we wanna use, AB, or AA, BB? And where do you wanna put the distance learning?
Well, I like the distance learning on Wednesday,
I kinda like it too, cause that's the.
but that works for the elementary, I don't know how it works for the middle school and high school.
What did you say?
With the distant learning on Wednesday,
The distance learning on Wednesday,
for the middle school.
aligns better with the calendar because most of our Wednesdays are where we have our minimum days. And so that would work out really well there. But
But we talked about the block model works better for
Well,
the middle school and high school.
based on my initial understanding, I'm not against ABAB based on because my big thing is cleaning in between, and I didn't quite understand that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I went that way. I know if I was in the high school, I too would have a hard time teaching the 2 hours and not seeing them again, just for reinforcement. And it's fine to say they would get online, but would they really? And are we going to be taking attendance or we're requiring them to be online? How are we going to approach that? I assume we're not because they're already getting their 2 hours and then their distance day. So I assume you wouldn't require them. And if we're not requiring them, are they really going to do it? So you really get 2 hours once a week with them versus those 2 days. So when I originally talked about it, the cleaning was a big thing. But now that kind of materialized like it did, I'm not opposed to it. With the D, who cares? D on Wednesday or Friday, either way.
Let me just remind you, board, on the staff survey that was completed. And again, as Mr. Qualman said, this was not just teachers, it went out to the entire staff, but we did get overwhelmingly 285 responses. Out of that, on that question, asking them about the blended model, almost 64% of those 285 people wanted the A, B, A, B, D. So I just want you to be aware that is data that we received as of today, and I'm sure there still may be data coming in on that survey. So,
But can't we move our minimum days to Fridays instead of Wednesdays?
I hate to have since we're already shorting the kids' time in the classroom, I hate to have them on a minimum day. Minimum days should be out the window at this point. And if we're gonna have a minimum day on Wednesday, that's gonna have to be the business.
But you still need PLC time, and you still gotta have that function so that the individual departments can understand where the department needs to go and stuff like that. So you still need an opportunity for that PLC or that professional development or those staff meetings that we're not gonna be able to hold them after. That can't happen. So that function, I would say that function absolutely has to happen. Where that is in the week, I don't
Right
know
now,
the best
it's
answer
less
for that.
likely to happen on
but-
Friday, frankly.
So right now it's set. We have minimum days with PLC on the minimum days.
on
So
Wednesdays,
I think
most
the
of them.
distance learning needs to be on that day.
You think that distance learning, I didn't hear what you said.
Yes, it needs to be
So-
on that day.
So you could do, again, AB, distance, AB.
Yes.
That was also one of the options you had back in July. And the, yeah, the
same kids.
two different focuses there. Two different focuses there. On the AB, distance, AB, here's the advantage of that one. They all have kind of some advantages and some disadvantages. The advantage of the AB, distance, AB is because the teacher has seen now the entire class on the distance learning day. And so it's not, no child is at a disadvantage. If I taught something to the A group, the B group has also had that same instruction. Whereas if you do this, if you do something like AA, distance, BB, now the BB kids are going to say, well, it's a possibility. They could say, what are they talking about? We haven't had that instruction. We haven't had that direct instruction yet. So from an instructional standpoint, the AB, distance, AB, I believe is better for the kids. What I shared with you a little while ago was that one of the things that the custodial team, a couple of them brought to my attention, which I did not necessarily think of, but which he reminded me that why are we here, Mrs. Gaines? We are here because we have a crisis. We have a pandemic that we're here because of safety and health risks. They thought the best thing would be AA, distance, BB, because they were looking at the cross-contamination. But and that makes sense from their perspective. I could understand that. But from an academic perspective, I think it's important that the teacher has the opportunity to see the entire class before the distance day so that they can adjust, make any changes before they see them again on Thursday and Friday. that's what,
And I would encourage parents to just send wipes with your kids so that they can disinfect the desk where they're sitting themselves. They can just wipe it clean.
so, yeah, the other side of that was back in July, Mr. Quillman, I remember, felt that if they had AB in the distance on Friday, it would give them the opportunity to make adjustments after the week before moving forward again on Monday. So as I said, when we did the Google Doc, thanks to Gary Jones, who started the Google Doc, there was a lot of input from teachers and staff members on all the pros and cons of the various plans. They all have some good things. They all have some things that may not be quite so good. I've always kind of liked the distance day on Wednesday because it does align with the calendar. It does make it easy for the PLCs and the other things that we have already built into the calendar.
Let's face it, if you have a minimum day on Friday, you're gonna be out of there.
Well, since we have minimum day on Wednesday anyways, the kids who are stuck going on that day are gonna be short every week. So I really think that we're gonna have to put the distance learning on Wednesday because of that. We don't wanna short those kids the time that they're gonna have in the classroom.
So I move that we accept the AB distance AB plan.
Which plan number is that?
Oh, gosh. The AB distance, AB, is that the one she's
Yeah.
making a motion on?
Yes.
Yes. I
Um,
don't remember what number that is, but
let's see here.
Okay,
Sure.
motion by Robinson. Plan AB, distance learning, AB, distance learning.
Whichever one. Number that one is.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Motion by Robinson, second by the Jerks. All in favor? Aye.
We're gonna aim for the 27th.
Okay, and one absent? Okay, so we got a plan.
Okay. Just a real quick note. I've worked with these boards before. They came out about 5 years ago. And it wasn't as nice as this. It was a little different. But the schools that I pay very big money to get my people to go to these classes, it's set up like they were saying about everybody answered the question, and then they look and see how many people got the question right. And they don't get it correct, you go back and say, okay, let's look at
You read it.
what you guys were thinking was correct, and it's not. So let's go back and re-go over that plan again. Since this COVID thing, a lot of our schools have been online. And we use this same thing, and it's that same, I don't know if it's the same brand, but it's the same thing. And we use the guys are actually using their phones. I use their desktop because it's bigger. And we answer the questions, and we go through it and see what the answers were. Of course, since we're all in the same room right there, we're all cheating off with each other. But that is a great learning tool.
It's amazing.
And it's going to be, if we could get them, hopefully we won't need them as much as a tool on a distance learning scale. And they can be used in the classroom. They are just incredible.
So, we got this presentation, but am I correct in saying that there's different brands that we can look at.
We have looked at 4 brands, Dr. Robinson, and one of them, I would say, I would not bring for you.
Do we have a committee that's choosing these?
Just cabinet, I mean, basically cabinet has been reviewed. I personally believe that you saw the Cadillac tonight. After seeing all 3 of them, I believe it is undoubtedly, I will say, the most expensive one, I believe. But I think, I talked to the director of IT in another district, and even though that's the same company, that's not the board they bought years ago. They've been really pleased with the boards, and they bought 800 some of them.
And do we have enough money to buy this particular model for all the classrooms?
Yes, I wouldn't buy for some. We will buy for every classroom, including special ed, and every teacher would get one at all of our sites, except for Rare Earth would not get them because we just purchased, because they work on mostly online. The teachers work with them online, but we just purchased new computers for all the students at Rare Earth. So that's would be in lieu of this. Abe Lincoln would probably get a couple of them. Pardon?
Rare Earth is stationary there, and Abe Lincoln is at home.
Yes, but the Abe Lincoln kids come in for their hour week, and the teacher could then work with them on a Promethean board. Haven't actually discussed it too much yet with Mr. Torres, but I certainly wouldn't leave Abe Lincoln out of getting a couple of them. It's one-time monies, and we want to make sure that all means all, and that everybody gets it.
At least a couple of them.
So do we need to set up a workshop then for next week, since we got the plan? We don't want to do it on a Wednesday, what about on a Thursday? The 17th? Or the 17th?
Thursday would be
Oh, no,
the
that's
15th.
I'm looking at this over here, the 15th.
Check my calendar.
Do we have to have that? Do we have to decide that here, or can we just, no, we don't have to make a decision on it, on record, to do a workshop. Okay, let's skip that, and let's go on to the next one. Approve resolution number 20-21-06, declaring schools open for in-person instruction. Ms. Gaines.
You pretty much kind of have already done that. If you look at the resolution, again, it's all pending what happens on next Tuesday in Kern County if we move from purple to red, but you have voted to open with a blended model ABD-AB on October 27th. And so the resolution was basically asking the board to, if they did not want to make a decision to open, because the purple and red list is sometimes fluctuating. I was asking for the board to give me the authority to open school to a blended model once the Kern County was in a position to open school. And so, but you've pretty much already done that anyway.
We voted on that before we voted on the other.
Yeah.
So the motion was
It
Robinson
was Robinson
and then Gutierrez.
But if it changes, we need to give her the authority to make that decision.
Well,
Okay.
you'll have another board meeting after that. If it doesn't happen next Tuesday, we will not be opening on the 27th.
Right, okay, so it was motion by Robinson, second by Gutierrez, all in favor?
3-1.
3-1? 3, 1 nay, 1 absent. Okay, next. Notice of intent to reopen in-person instruction.
And that would be October 27th.
Yes. And that's what we voted on. So that was, motion by Robinson, second by Gutierrez. All in favor was 4, right? All in favor? On, to start on the 27th?
Yeah, is that a carryover vote since I already voted on it? No.
No? Okay, so it's 3-1. One absent. Curriculum and instructions. Targets.
We do not have any Williams complaints.
Okay. And your motion.
Good report.
Motion by Gutierrez, second by,
Tanksley.
all in favor?
Aye.
One absent. Personnel items. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept that written.
Gutierrez, second by,
Tanksley.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
One absent. Business and operations, Ms. Gaines.
Yes, this is the MOU between SKUSD and RTA, the reopening MOU that dates back to the reopening of August 12. And we finally, RTA got it ratified, and so this is just letting you know you can board approve it now. RTA has ratified that.
Great. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Sarah, second. Robinson, all in favor? Aye. One absent. Approved CSEA 2020 between SKU.
Yes,
and
we,
CSEA and PCA.
yes, we were just waiting on, this is not the MOU with CSEA for reopening. We're still working on that. But this is the contract with 1920. We were just waiting for CSEA to ratify this contract. And so this goes back a while, and they finally ratified it. And so they've signed it, and now it's ready for your
Do I hear a
approval.
motion?
I guess that's a little late, isn't it?
Do I hear-
I motion
Still
we
good.
accept the contract.
Okay, Robinson, second.
Tanksley.
All in favor?
Aye.
One absent. Adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Gutierrez, second. Robinson, all in favor?
Aye.
One absent. 10:30.